Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of Project Morana. I don't know why I said it that way, but
on that one.
I know. I think I'm just excited. We hope that you've been having a lovely week and that you're just as excited as us. Like, literally after we recorded the next day, we're all like, so when is it going to happen again? When are we going to record again? But we are pretty amped. We hope that you are too. But before we get into it, we have to do some things, a little cleaning, a little brooming. So first and foremost, we would like to thank our supporter today. Thank you so much, Roll4It, for supporting us. Supporting us, sponsoring us. That's the word I'm looking for. They're both S's. If you're ever curious how we do our dice rolling or maps in some of our game, lighting, the crazy things that we've done in the past, that's all through Roll4It. So we appreciate them greatly. And if you also play Call of Cthulhu, you will understand that there's a lot of complications with how you roll and whether it's regular, hard, extreme, whatever. And then you have to do maths, but it auto does the maths for you, which for me, I like. Although there's some people who probably enjoy the maths part. But not only does it do dice games, you can do card games, you can do board games, you can make custom sheets yourself. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can do over on Roll20. And they keep adding more things. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Roll20. Beyond that, we also have merch. You can head on over to designbyhumans.com/shop/roll4it and get yourself a nice mug or a little cozy sweater because it's fall, y'all. Yeah, I feel like I need to. There we go. Yeah. I was thinking it in my head, but I needed to find it. And of course, we do want to remind everybody that this is a horror game that we're going to be playing, very much the setting that we're going for. So if there are any things that trigger you, feel free to walk away, step away, or, if this is not the show for you, we have plenty of other ones over on youtube.com/roll4it. I might recommend Eaton Grange if you're into something a little bit more relaxing / drama-filled, just not horror-filled. But there's a whole bunch of other goodies over there, so go check it out. And of course, today we want to thank Thunder Cabbage. Thank you, Thunder Cabbage, for being a supporter for today's episode. And if you would like to be a supporter like Thunder Cabbage, you can become Legend tier or above over on our Patreon. And that gets you access to not only supporting an episode, but also you get to play in a private GM'd game. And Kelly's been GMing those. I'll be GMing one that's coming up in the next month because it will affect our October one shot. So if you are interested in that, you might want to partake and become a Legend tier. But not only is that, there's a whole bunch of other goodies over on our Patreon, like our character sheets for this game, as well as our after shows. They're always jam-packed full of goodness and our thoughts or theories. And of course, we also have Twitch. You can become a Twitch sub here, and that gets you access to the videos in advance, as well as emotes. And if you have Amazon Prime, you can use your Prime sub for free. And instead of giving it to Jeff Bezos, you can give it to us. And you can also become a YouTube member where you get access to some of those emotes as well. And whether you're a YouTube member, Twitch subscriber, or a Patreon supporter, you get access to a private Discord where you can see how lucky we are in the rolls as Papa Tim posts them. And also, I know there were a lot of discussions about feels because last episode was, it was a doozy. People really want to give Nate hugs. And they just said that we brought the life to all these characters. So a round of applause to all of y'all, because what an episode that was. And apparently today's going to be one that's going to be real interesting. So we'll see how it goes. But we know not everyone can support us in a monetary way. So there's lots of free ways to support us, like watching us live here on Twitch, making clips while you're watching here live. And we use those clips to make compilations. That's the word I'm looking for. And also over on Twitter and stuff. So definitely send those our way. And you can also watch on YouTube, subscribe, like, comment, and follow us on Twitter or X and Facebook. Like, share, retweet, and comment on all of the things. Even if you don't have a ton of followers, it doesn't matter. It's not about that. It's all about interactions and engagement and making the algorithms go worse. So with that, I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to hand it over to our keeper or as some people like to call them, game masters, but in Call of Cthulhu, it's the keeper. Kelly, take it away.
Do you ever, leading up to the moment where you have to start talking, worry that you have forgotten how to speak?
Yes.
Only
Sometimes in the middle of speaking, I forget how to speak.
Perfect. I was also worried about that, but I think I'm fine.
Can I play happy music or?
I mean, you could play some happy music if you'd like.
I'm scared.
Comfort us with the happy music.
Yeah. The date is Thursday, January 5th, 2023. The time is 8:45 a.m. Now, if I know anything about Nate, he is a early riser. And even though it's only been about 5 hours since the events of Laura's visions, hallucinations, your body is so accustomed to waking up early that you've sort of been lying in your small bed here in Tilly's Inn for a few minutes now. And as you wake, you're surprised that your sleep wasn't worse, because you hear this rattling from the window as the wind from the storm outside has gotten significantly worse. The roof above you moans as the attic breathes deep the cold air, but despite it all, the room remains relatively warm. You feel a slight chill when you leave the protection of the blankets, but nothing too overbearing. What do you do as you wake up?
So I think my initial sense, my initial struggle is, I think I'm probably in a fair amount of discomfort because I'm a big, tall dude sleeping in a small bed, and I did describe myself as sleeping curled up, and I'm almost 50. So I don't think that's a great combo of things, contorting myself into an uncomfortable position for several hours. But here's the problem. It's very cold, and I don't want to leave these covers initially. I think Nate's like temperature regulation when he first wakes up is not quite there, and it takes a little bit. So I think it's like the first few minutes, maybe the first 10 minutes, are me just very slowly unfurling myself as gingerly as possible so that I don't like twinge anything. I'm just sort of like, oh.
You feel a pop as your shoulder sort of like
gets
not
back
again into the right position, as like the muscle had sort of like moved. Just you're sleeping on it a bit wrong, but it pops almost satisfyingly. But then the pain starts to like radiate within.
I practice what I always do, which is to just sort of pause everything else and breathe through the pain. For groups of like 10 seconds, breathing in slowly, breathing in for
your
5,
back
out
painfully
for 5.
cracks as you breathe in heavily.
Oh no! I'm gonna try and stretch my back out as I'm breathing. It's like the vertebrae is popping into place. Yeah, when that's finished, I'm completely like, I have recombobulated myself. I think that I'm going to head to try and get either some coffee, some breakfast, something, and see what the deal is, and maybe get some indication as well, because this storm is a problem. I really wanted to leave, so I don't like this at all. So I'm gonna head downstairs.
As you sort of like, again, leaning over a bit, make your way to the door, open it, and are immediately face to face with what look like floating clothes in front of you, only to notice the like tuft of gray hair behind it, realizing that Tilly is standing in front of you holding very heavy looking clothes with one hand, and her hand was just about to knock on the door.
Oh, thank you.
Kind of like knocks on your stomach a little bit.
Oh, and I take that. Thank you. I'll take those. Good morning. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you'd be awake yet. I'm an early riser.
These Oliver Kane dropped these off for you earlier this morning. They should be about your size. He's a pretty big guy.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll try him on. Tilly, I wanted to ask, the storm outside, do we have any idea when that might be letting up?
She like hands you the clothes, and you can see a bit of concern on her face. She kind of like rubs her scalp. I think it's best if everyone probably gets settled. There's food set up downstairs. Get dressed, and I'll wake the others.
Okay. Just trepidatiously, I start putting on clothes, and then I think the appetite starts to hit, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Let's at least get some food out of the way, and once I'm fully dressed, I'm gonna head downstairs.
Cool. The as for the clothes, there's a jacket, a pair of pants, boots, and some thick wool socks. The jacket is like a heavy brown leather lined with like sheep and raccoon fur. It's almost styled like a bomber jacket, but a bit longer and sort
Sheep
of like
and
thicker.
raccoon?
It's a thing. It's got a hood that's lined with raccoon fur. It's almost like a gold. It's like gold flaked kind of tan. If you've ever seen like raccoon fur lining, it looks urine stained a little bit. But that's just because of the colors and stuff. It's very comfortable and warm.
I'd like to sniff the hood just to see.
It smells like dusty, like it's been put away for a while. The pants are army green snow bib pants, which are the ones that you sort of like pull up, and they have straps. They're kind of like overalls.
Great.
But like thicker, and they have like black straps and zippers. They look well worn, but pretty insulated. As you try to put on the boots, they are a bit small, but there is a lining, like a matted sort of fur lining that you can. Sure. But you can take it out. It makes it a little bit tougher, but the wool socks kind of help a bit. Mm-hmm. And they're black boots. So you're looking pretty decked out now for winter as you head downstairs. The main area of Tilly's is nobody is there, but you see along the bar there's a collection of large serving plates with tin like steel covers. There's a jug of water as well as 2 carafes labeled hot water and coffee. There's mugs, a collection of cutlery and plates, and a little box that sort of has a variety of teas. And you can see a bit of like heat rising up out of the center of the plate coverings.
All right, I'm hitting the coffee first. Once I have secured coffee, I am going straight for the plates, for the and just gonna load up whatever they got going on here, provided it is not something that's truly alarming.
Just your basic like scrambled eggs, those like real tough ones that you have to like almost break up. There's some pancakes as well as some bacon prepped. It seems like there's almost just enough made for you all, plus like some spillover in case anyone's particularly hungry.
Okay.
Or Nate.
Yes. I think I'm gonna go. I've seen these people. I'm gonna predict that they're not gonna go for the overflow, and because I'm down here first, when they are all eating, I can go back in for the spillover. So that's how I'm gonna plan it. So I'm gonna get the food. Yeah, get the food and start, but I'm gonna wait to start the food until I see them, like, see people starting to come down. And then I'm like, cool, we're in business.
The coffee also is pretty good. It's like your standard like diner black coffee, but hits the spot and sort of has that nostalgic flavor of just like early morning at a diner, basically.
Raccoon.
There's just raccoon floating. I don't know why I made that specification. I didn't think that this would be the most interesting part. You know, they made hats out of raccoons, right?
Yes.
Players always like tie on to like
Just
the littlest things.
Yeah, I mean the raccoon hat is already something, but like I never knew they lined jackets with the stuff. That's so cool. and wild
it's
to
an
think
old
about.
jacket. As Nate sits there drinking coffee, reading the tag on the jacket, there's a knock on Laura's door, followed by silence as nobody answers. And across the hall, three of you sort of wake up at the sound of Tilly calling out for Laura, trying to wake her up, followed by the also sort of banging against the window and the moaning of the building as you can feel the storm has picked up outside. What are y'all doing to wake up?
I think Carl kind of rolls out of the floor, kind of stretches a little, and will go to the door and open it a crack and look out.
You see Tilly with like a ring of keys, like trying to find the one for Laura's door as she sort of turns around. She's in like pretty like old-fashioned looking clothes. She's got sort of like a hand-knit cardigan as well as just like cozy loose pants on, and seems to still be in slippers. As she sort of looks over, she looks like she hasn't even prepped for the day yet, and she says, "Oh, Carl, do you know if Laura's maybe a heavy sleeper?"
She ended up sleeping in our room. Like, my mom and her sharing the bed.
Oh, okay. Well, it's 9. If all of you wanted to come down for breakfast, I got some stuff prepared, and I should probably get you all acclimated and ready for what's going to be happening today.
Okay. Is
All right,
there something extra that we're supposed to know about?
It'll be fine. Just come get ready. As she like sort of shimmies down the hallway back to
I
the
think
main.
Carl just continues like watching, like half awake. And then as she kind of like disappears down the hall, closes the door, and I'm gonna turn the light on, and Carl will turn the light on in the room.
Just like a bright light in the overhead, piercing through your eyelids as that red light appears.
What time is it?
She said it was 9.
It's 9 already? Ugh.
You certainly snored enough. I hope you got a good sleep.
I snore?
Like a trucker.
Oh no, no one told me. I'm sorry.
Don't worry, I can sleep through anything.
Ugh, shit. I probably should get that looked at. Like, you're not supposed to snore.
True.
Well, there's things you can do for that, but I don't know if you want to sleep with like a gas mask on your face type
Well,
of
don't
situation.
they have those nose things, like the little wings? I saw commercials for them. Like, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes they work. Depends on
I
what
just saw a
your
lot of
problem
commercials
is.
in the 90s for it.
Well, it's a new day. Let's get up and get going, shall we?
I'm gonna, and Carl like has grabbed a little bit of their clothes and kind of points to the door like they're gonna.
I can
use
go.
the bathroom there.
I can. You two can have your space. I mean,
No, it's fine. I'll go. And Carl just awkwardly like opens the door and leaves.
Well, and Marie just like strips down and gets changed.
Carl is very considerate.
I did raise them well.
Honestly, I feel bad that they had to sleep on the floor.
Oh, don't feel bad. We used to go camping all the time, and they love it.
Well, it's just.
Plus, they had the cashmere. What's not to love?
Yeah, but you know, like when you have a hangover and you kind of regret the night before, like I kind of have that, but in a different way. It's more embarrassment and shame.
Oh, well. Just like when we take care of friends with a bad hangover, we don't judge. Everything's fine.
You're not judging me at all for what happened.
No. What should I be?
I was... You know when like...
Really,
like
I'm
this-
more offended by the snoring than the screaming.
Oh, I'll get that looked at. You just... You know when you have a nightmare or you have a bad dream or it's just like everything is thicker at night, and then as soon as the sun creeps up, it's like, oh, I was a fool. The shadows are not as intense.
Don't give in to the shame. Shame is a silly emotion. Emotion that you need to not trifle with.
You said you had a nightmare too? Or something? Right? Like, I mean, was it like mold? Did you dream about mold?
I didn't. Did I? When I dream, I don't really remember it in the mornings.
You don't remember like a bad dream? You never have one like you wake up and you're like, wow, that felt real, and then you carry it the entire day?
Well,
I have those
it didn't
all the
feel
time.
like a dream, though. That's the thing.
That's
I
what
don't know. It was like a
Mine-
haze or something.
mine was like that too. I felt the mold in my throat.
It did feel real. But mine was not mold related and not in this area either.
I just hope that it's not a thing that we're all gonna have, like nightly nightmares. Maybe moving through the group, is Nate gonna have one next? I don't know. Is Carl gonna have one?
We should start a dream journal.
You could use it for a novel. We could just write them
I could use
down.
it for a novel.
Well, could you work in a mold room in your next book?
Only if I don't have to pay you any royalties.
You can have this one for free. Just make sure that the person lives through it.
You've got it.
I should go though. I think all my stuff's in my room, and if you hear screaming, I'm just being choked by mold again.
Okay.
Laura gets up and is like really messy, like hair is askew, just absolutely like if someone slept in but slept really poorly and just was like tossing and turning all night. She just looks rough. And starts heading towards the door.
See you downstairs. And before Marie leaves, that whole conversation, Marie was just like changing into her outfit for the day with no shame whatsoever. But before heading downstairs, she'll take a look outside. Is it bright out, or is the clouds and the snow sort of like dimming the brightness?
It's a pale blue out, so the sun is breaking through somewhat through the storm, but it's definitely muffled by all the snow. It's almost that thing where the snow is creating a glow just by absorbing the sunlight, basically.
In that case, Marie will hesitate, seeming to think about whether or not she wants to grab her sunglasses, and leaves them here. A coffee will do it for me, I'm sure. And she heads downstairs.
All right. Carl, you were the first of the three to sort of get ready and head downstairs. And as you come down the stairs, you can see, looking out over the dining area, Nate sort of like settled over a plate of untouched food, just like sipping coffee. You said, because you said you were waiting, right, Nate?
Yeah.
Or were you eating?
I'm just,
Okay.
and then as soon as I see,
Immediately starts eating. You see Tilly sitting behind the bar, drinking coffee herself as well. And the dining area looks just as you had left it the night before, if brighter, from the bit of light that is coming through the windows.
Carl will grab a cup of coffee. Doesn't put any cream or sugar in it, just drinks it straight.
Nice. There's food
and
if you want.
Dan's there for a little bit. Oh, is someone talking to him? Sorry.
Yeah, Tilly sort of like looks up. There's food, eggs and bacon.
I'm
I get
not
up
much
early.
of a breakfast person.
I could wrap it up for you.
I'll be okay.
All right,
This'll
I'll be
do.
there if you need it. We also got
Probably
liquor
need
too,
3
if you
more
want.
of them. No, I'm good.
All right.
I don't drink.
She's kind of like her eyes just narrow at you. She just sort of like slowly sips her coffee and nods.
Remember the night before? Carl had a glass of milk.
Yeah. But she's no less judging you.
Oh yeah.
But
They just kind of stand there for a moment with their glass of, or their cup, their mug of coffee, and just kind of like looking around. It's kind of one of those situations where it's like flashback to like school and where to sit type of situation. So I think Carl just stands there for a moment with the cup of coffee.
a moment passes, and you hear the front door open with the like ding 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 ding. That's sort of like liminal diner area at the front of the building, and you see just a huddled mass of puffy black jacket and like gloves, just like embracing a thermos like a child. Sort of kick his boots on the ground and almost robotically walks up to the bar next to you. Tilly, Bill, and just pours some of the coffee into his thermos, screws it closed, sort of looks at you for a moment, and you see just like old cracked skin surrounding these sort of faded brown eyes that just sort of nod at you, lift up the thermos, and proceeds to walk towards the front door again.
Carl, just kind of holding the mug, nods back like awkwardly and like shrugs to themselves because they're not sure what to do.
A moment later, you see Laura descending the stairs. Again, Laura, you see this fine spread on the bar. Carl sort of awkwardly standing by it, and Nate probably halfway through his food at this point.
I would wonder why Carl's over there and not with Nate. And so I kind of just like my eyes ping pong between the two. And then I like, it's kind of like getting a lay of the land, just scanning and seeing who's there, who's where, what food is being offered. Because Laura is a vegetarian. And then also immediately is checking coffee. Is coffee an option here? And then
Coffee is an option.
And then scoping to see if there's an espresso machine.
Oh.
The luck.
You don't see one in the bar area.
Okay, so like even like I just have to take in that I'm going to be drinking drip today is essentially what that means.
You could certainly ask, but I mean, how worldly is Laura?
Well, she loves her coffee and she makes it at home every day.
How well traveled is
How well
Laura?
traveled? I'm like the coffee makes her well traveled. Laura's done a bit of traveling, probably not as much as you think she would have, but she's like been all up and down the West Coast to New York City to probably to Japan and maybe to London, like the hot spots for bands and concerts.
Questionable then. I will say that I hate saying this sentence, but the aesthetic of this place is very what expensive places are going for, sort of that like log cabin, like cavernous diner experience is something that like people will try to recreate. So it's up to you if you think Laura thinks that this aesthetic is because they're trying to recreate that, or if it's genuinely was built that way with no irony involved. Because that will determine whether or not you think a place like this in a small town like this would have access to an espresso machine.
Is there a roll I could do? Like a judgment roll of some kind to see if I'm like sussing out what aesthetic is?
Let's go with
Intelligence?
Intelligence
Education?
is a good one. I was trying to see if there's any like there's a read people one, I think. Let's just go intelligence then.
Okay. Here we go. Extreme success 10 versus 70.
Woo!
You during the early parts of your work, you had to tour with some less appreciated bands and stayed in some shabbier hostels and, off the beaten path places. So you get the impression that this aesthetic is not show and that this is a very old building. With a extreme success, however, you sort of pick up the strange dissonance of the entranceway. It looks newer than the inn proper and does seem to be going for sort of an established, memorable aesthetic, but not like you see how abandoned that area is, and it seems to have been again like grafted onto this old classic inn and then just left in the wind.
So like a house has like an addition added to it. So they're like, hey, this is our sunroom. We added it like 50 years later. Is it like that?
Yes. You can see remnants of where wall used to be, sort of the supporting logs where the front entrance of Tilly's was probably originally made. And this additional gaudy sort of like, again, McDonald's dining area / like diner was added on many years later.
Okay. So I think I'm just kind of taking all this in as I'm walking over to the buffet, if you will. And instead of making a fuss about, I'm clocking what everybody's drink of choice is. I'm like, they're all just having the drip. I'm not going to even ask or try to make a
There is
scene
tea,
about
I
it.
will remind you. There is hot water carafe with some tea options, if that's more your speed.
No, it's coffee. So, I think it's one of those things where like when in Rome, and so she gets a big cup of coffee, probably adds a little sugar, a little cream to it, it's drip. She wants to like make it a little nicer, and then makes a plate of food if there is anything like fruit or like bagels or anything.
There's from least vegetarian to most. There's bacon, egg, and pancake.
She's getting pancakes. Because she's hungry. And I'm gonna look at Carl. I'll walk over to Carl. Do you want to sit with Nate and I?
Yeah,
Or do you need a moment? Or would you like to just...
No, I can do that. That's fine. I was actually contemplating where to sit.
I won't be offended if you're like, I need my own time. I know this has been a lot since we've been here.
I mean, not really.
I have to say, you're rolling with the punches, and I admire that.
Thanks. Carl tries to put a smile, but it looks very uncomfortable. It looks like they're trying to smile at you so that you feel comfortable, but they look uncomfortable, like it's forced.
I just my eyes squint at you a little bit. If you want, I'm gonna go hassle Nate. And I turn to go over to sit with Nate.
Carl will awkwardly follow you to the table and wait for you to sit before they choose a seat to sit in.
Okay. But I think as soon as I sense that you're walking behind me, I slow down a little bit so that like we're not in tandem, but we are walking kind of, you're not trailing me. You're like with me kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Did you eat already, Nate?
I just got started around the time I think Carl got down.
Yeah.
Food's pretty good. It's decent. Good morning, by the way.
Yes. Good morning. I mean, I guess continuation of our morning.
Yeah, how are you feeling?
I'm okay. I'm sorry I made a scene.
It's okay. Last night was a scene altogether, I think, for everybody. It was a lot of scenes.
I know, but I told Marie this already. It's just kind of like, it's like a weird hangover, and I'm embarrassed about it. And I know it's just what it is. I can't take it back. This is just what it is.
Yeah. Well, look, you get no shame from me. I've had some pretty crazy dreams recently. So.
Here?
Well, that's a good question. GM, did I happen to have a crazy dream last night?
No, mostly
All right.
pleasant.
Not that I can remember, but no, I mean before. Actually, I think it was when I got the call.
Like,
You were having a
during the
nightmare,
call?
like, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was I was having a nightmare is probably the best way to describe it. I had a nightmare when Liam called.
That sucks. I don't really have nightmares often, but I have this one reoccurring one where it's kind of dumb. But I think whenever I'm stressed out, I get it. Maybe you were stressed out?
Nate once again staring very intensely, not like angrily, but just sort of like as if his face just sort of ages 30 years, looking at you in the eyes, staring very intently at your eyes. And then like there's a pause after you finish speaking, and then you sorry, what'd you say? Sorry.
I really just don't have like one dream that I keep having. It's kind of weird. Whenever I'm stressed out, I basically like dream that there's this giant snowball and it's like chasing me, and then I like end up jumping off a cliff, and then I wake up like, like I'm gonna fall off the bed. And it's kind of feels pretty real. Like my heart feels, and I feel like I've just been running for the whole night instead of sleeping. But like I said, weird. I don't really get nightmares beyond that.
Well,
Maybe you're stressed out. Was something happening?
Yeah.
I mean, nothing in particular. It was, life was just life. And I don't think I've ever had a dream quite like that, though. You were saying it felt real?
Yeah.
I've never had a dream that felt that real before.
Oh. Well, this one doesn't really feel real. It's just something that, it's more that when I wake up, it feels like I'm falling.
Laura, out of the corner of your eyes, you see standing at the top of the stairs is Marie, just sort of watching the three of you.
I look up and just kind of do one of those like waves, like, hey, we're over here, in case you couldn't see us.
If you're the one that's looking over, you would probably catch Marie like wiping something off of her face as she heads down to meet you.
Well, if you're wiping tears, can I see if Laura notices that?
That's what I'm wiping. But yeah, what would she roll?
I guess man, I really need to lay out
Spot
the
hidden?
skills. Yeah, spot hidden, thank you. I have just like a square of just skills and numbers. I need a list better. I need to
Okay.
prepare the actual game mechanics of this game.
There's a lot to this game, though. So.
There's like 300 types of skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, spot
With her
hidden would be
cake.
the roll.
Okay. 'Cause I like Laura's very observant, but I kind of want to leave it up to chance to see if I notice this like kind of intimate thing. 16
Wow.
versus 45, hard success.
I'm excited to see
Killing
the
Oh my
the
gosh.
stats because I'm pretty sure Laura rolls the best.
I don't usually in any
Katie's farming
game.
those level ups.
Um,
I already
remember to
succeeded
check
at this.
that.
I already had it
Uh-oh.
checked from another success.
And wait
last time.
until
Well,
a
all
milestone.
right then. Sorry.
But yeah, you notice Marie kind of like smudges a bit of her makeup and then like fixes it a bit, and you clock that it's tears.
It's one of those things that I notice, but I work very hard to make sure Marie doesn't know that I notice. It's like because it's like one of those things where you put yourself in that other person's situation. You wonder like, would I want somebody to know that I was just wiping tears from my eyes? Like, so I notice it. I mostly make a mental note of it. And then just kind of look back at Nate and Carl and kind of just keep waving my hand and adjust some of the silverware, just a little place setting for Marie. Even if those probably were already perfect, I probably just adjust it a little bit more.
The smell is heavenly. Oh my gosh. Nothing like bacon in the morning. And I'll grab the plate and pile up one pan. How big are the pancakes, Keeper? Are they like those like pre-made ones that are kind of small, or are they like big?
They're
Oh,
about
perfect.
just bigger than a hockey puck.
Yeah. I'm going to take a pancake, bacon, maple syrup, pancake, and make a little breakfast sandwich.
Tilly looks impressed and sort of like nods and then drinks more of her coffee.
Nate, seeing that, is now that everyone has gotten food, time for the spillover, and what you just did is an innovation. And he is going to absolutely, for his seconds, going to do the exact same thing.
The maple
Probably with
syrup
more
just
food,
makes
though.
it chef's kiss.
Tilly looks at you and says, she's a bit of a trendsetter, I see.
Well, it's not me. This really used to be Carl's favorite breakfast.
Yeah, when I was like 7.
I can't stop doing it.
Well, they do grow up pretty fast. All right, everybody, settle in, eat your breakfast, second meal, I guess. I got some pretty bad news, and just sort of like shimmies out from behind the bar, still holding her coffee. Again, still sort of in like that just got out of bed and put on a cardigan look. And sort of like comes and stands next to your table. So, some of you might have heard yesterday that, and on this morning, the storm's getting pretty big. The mayor and the town council have called for an emergency town hall meeting to sort of discuss plans. It's planned for 11, so you still got, just kind of like checks her watch, about an hour to get ready. I got to clean up, and I can lead you there. Anyone who wants to stay, just don't raid the bar, or, you can walk around town if you want. It's pretty windy out there, so bundle up. I'll leave the food out for a bit. I got to go get dressed. If there's anything you need, let me know.
Others staying here? Besides us?
Well, there were gonna be, but
Because of the storm, it's just us?
yeah. So we can talk about that as well. Liam paid for the one night, but if all said and done, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. I think they're gonna be mostly free. Yeah.
Thank you for the food. Did you make it?
Yeah, I've got a kitchen behind the bar.
Oh, I was kind of wondering because, I don't know, as I was walking in, is this bar original to the building?
Yeah, this whole area here, it was It wasn't originally Tilly's. It was some other owners, but it was part of the resort Lake Morana infrastructure originally.
But like this room specifically, this was like a part of the original building.
Kind of like looks around. Do you mean this
Did you?
area or the diner over there?
Well, like, I guess yeah, like the diner. All I guess.
Oh, she kind of looks nostalgic for a moment. That was Daniel's idea. My late husband. We used to run this place together, and he thought we would modernize it and try to fit in with the times, but kind of got left as is. People tend to prefer this area, the more homey part of the inn.
That was exactly what I was gonna say. Homie.
Well, I do read a lot of Marie Wilson, so maybe my vocabulary and descriptive words have picked up from that.
I had a question. How long does it normally take for the roads to get plowed around here?
On any given day, or
Well, in a situation like this, how long should we expect to be here?
your guess is as good as mine. As I said, town hall meeting, we'll probably learn more there. It hasn't been this bad for a while.
The last time
GM,
it
did I?
happened. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I wanted to ask, did I get snowshoes or any kind of... Oh, no, I do have boots. Never mind. I was about to say, like, am I walking to this thing in my sandals? Sorry. Please continue.
I think Carl just chimes in and says, well, how long did it last the last time?
She kind of like looks and thinks for a while. Well, it's probably been... It's been a while since the last real big one like this. A week,
What?
maybe 2.
No,
2 weeks.
no.
I gotta get back to work.
Yeah,
I do
I
too.
can't. I can't stay for that long.
She kind of like puts up her hand. I don't control the weather.
The internet, does it get better? And why does it come and go?
She kind of like looks. She like turns her head to you. I'm sorry. Do you think that I had Walt set up the internet here? I don't know how it works.
you
Does the wind blow the Wi-Fi's away from us at some trajectory and not get to your phone?
No, I just wasn't sure if you knew why it dipped so much.
I don't. You
Does
could
the
ask
cloud
Walt.
make it out here?
She kinda,
I
like,
keep
looks
hearing
up.
about the cloud.
No, you
And-
need the internet for the cloud, unfortunately.
Is the cloud not the... I never...
It's pretty cloudy,
They talk
alright.
about the cloud at school.
Yeah.
I've never really... Yeah. So the cloud isn't here.
No. It would be if you had internet access, you could access a cloud. There's several different types of clouds. Depends on which cloud you're trying to access, but you need the internet first to
I
do
think
that.
Walt had a cloud. You could probably check with him to see if you can use his cloud.
Walt?
Yeah, he's sort of the tech genius around here. He's a good kid.
I, for one, am welcoming a week without having to be pinged by my editor asking for more pages. So thank you, Tilly.
She
I
looks
can
at
write
you
in
and
we
she's
could
like,
peace.
Use a phone.
believe me, the last time Daniel and I didn't really worry about it too much. Stayed inside mostly.
Do you
Carl
have
had a question.
Yeah, is there a way we could use the phone? Haven't been getting cell reception.
I need to go get ready. I feel like the more I talk, I'm going to keep disappointing you fine folk, and I'm I
You
feel
don't
like
have
you
a
came.
phone?
I just
I mean,
wanna
I'm
be able
not trying to.
call my boss. Okay.
We have phone again. Things don't work too well out here. We haven't really had a good infrastructure for a while.
Tilly, can I ask you a question?
Only if it doesn't make you hate me more.
I don't hate you. I don't think any of us hate you, Tilly. What made you and Daniel come here?
Oh,
This
my
is-
family's lived here for a while.
Was Daniel from here too?
No, he was from Winnipeg. No, we my parents lived here, and once we got older, we just figured we'd come back to less Wi-Fi and clouds, and just have a more simple, comfortable life.
Sounds nice.
What about hospitals and
We got
doctors?
a doctor, Dr. Samuel. He's capable.
And
You
he
can see,
doesn't have a phone? Like, I know that, look, I'm no expert on this stuff, but at the school, we have to have access to phones in case of an emergency, especially when it's the medical personnel, the nurse, first aid, that sort of thing. I have to have a secure and reliable connection to the emergency services in case of a serious injury during a practice or a game. You understand?
Actually, I think that maybe Elias and Riley might have one at the police station, but most likely they'll be at the town hall meeting as well.
Well, okay. Sounds like we need to be at this town hall meeting.
Yeah. I
I'm
have
trying
someone
to get ready for it, but that's
Yeah. Sorry, Tilly. I just
I understand this is an inconvenience, and you're welcome. Well, I'll do everything I can, but
it's not your fault. I made the choice to come here.
Carl gets up and goes to refill their coffee.
I think it's. I think Nate's gonna wait until Tilly goes, and he's just gonna mutter, "I think it's a little her fault."
I mean, it's hospitality. You're supposed to. I guess I don't know.
That's
I don't
what
know.
I'm saying. Look, okay, there's certain things you're supposed to expect. All right, you go to a gas station, you expect they're gonna have Big Red. All right, you go to a school, you expect they're gonna have water fountains. You go to a hotel, you expect they're gonna have a phone.
Do people like that's the thing? They need supplies. Like, who does Dr. Samuel do surgery?
That's what I'm saying. He's adequate. I'm guessing if he's some kind of small town Andy Griffith show doc here, he's just pulling teeth and sawing off limbs.
I don't want that. I had a weird dream last night, and the last thing I need is more help than this town can give me.
Marie
Nate?
gets. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I
I'll
was just
also
gonna
clarify
say.
that Tilly has gone to go get ready.
Oh, okay.
Once you're all whispering to,
She's not just
yourself.
standing there.
She's not just standing there. No.
Through all of that. Seeing, I think that what Laura said kind of snapped Nate out of his like immediate frustration, because he recognized like, oh yeah, she's having a rough time. And then he like, and then turns, looks at Carl again, and again is like, man, I'm having a rough time too. And he's just gonna put a hand on Laura's shoulder and say, it's gonna be okay. We're gonna figure it out. They'll have something at the town hall meeting. There'll be some way of getting us out of here. Maybe we'll be able to ride the snowplow.
You're right. I tend to get ahead of myself sometimes, and I put my hand on top of Nate's. I know this is really weird, but I'm glad that all of you are here, and I'm not here by myself.
Agreed. It's a bit odd, though, that she was so adamant about not having a phone. How do they take bookings here? I'm going to go to the front desk. And
I will be clear that you do see a phone on the wall. She didn't say she doesn't have a phone. She said she
Things don't
implied that it
work.
wasn't working.
Yeah. Carl
I'll
will
go over
return
to the
from
phone.
getting the coffee
Mm.
at that point.
You sort of see Tilly come out from the back, now in a like white turtleneck, sort of a almost looks like a cashmere white turtleneck, and the sleeves are sort of rolled up, and she's got like a blue similar snow bib pants on, and starts like compressing the food down to one plate so that she can start cleaning up, and sort of like eyes you, Marie, as you grab the phone, and like gives you sort of like a half shrug, like go, you can try.
Is it like a payphone?
No, it's just like a wall-mounted landline phone, or not landline.
Okay.
God,
Yeah.
just like
Oh,
a
landline.
Landline.
yeah, landline, right? Landline phone. And you
I
pick
like
it up.
push on the dial a few times as I'm holding the receiver to my ear.
No dial tone.
I go to 0.
It's not a turn one. It's
I
just
push 0. Whatever. I'm calling the operator.
you start jamming the buttons, and there's no dial tone.
Sometimes you just need to push it the right way.
Carl
Did you
sees-
try hanging up and then picking it up off the receiver again?
I'll do it again.
Through ancient rituals and arcane runes of pressing the various buttons, the pound,
I can hit it if you want.
Oh, that's a bit too far, probably. It's not TV, Nate.
Is it missing a cord? One of those like the cords. Remember
It's definitely got one of the chords. You nearly unintentionally cast a Cthulhu old god spell, but you're off by a couple ritual steps, and the phone remains unfortunately inert.
I'll
Mom,
try
I
again
think it's
later.
Not gonna work.
You're always handy, Carl. Maybe you should take a look at it later.
I don't think I'm gonna be able to fix this situation.
You can fix people, but you can't fix phones.
They're a little different.
Wires, veins.
Marie,
Tilly,
maybe
that
go a
now-
little easy. You know, I'm not an electrician, but people and machines don't work quite the same. You know, Carl's just doing their best.
I didn't realize you were an expert.
I just said I wasn't, and I'm gonna stand up and go and see if there's any more food.
It's about the food has been compressed down to one. There's still quite a bit left, considering Carl hadn't eaten anything, so you are free to indulge. And you hear almost like a dramatic slam of the swinging bar door as Tilly dramatically comes out, facing you, Marie, and says, "All right, enough's enough. I've put up with you for long enough, and I've got something to say." And sort of dramatically flourishes a book in front of you. And you see a copy of Whispers in the Dark, Vanquishing Foes, a paperback that seems less worn than the original Whispers in the Dark that you had seen Tilly reading when you got here. And without even needing to read her or anything, you can see that she's like dramatically playing this up as sort of like a mocking thing.
Oh, well, get it off your chest.
I got Jack to go into the city the day that this one released because I needed to know what happened to Jane, and honestly, you got me hooked. But she kind of like bites her lip and thinks for a moment. I only read this one once. I know that it's been out for a while. It's gotten a bit complex. For me, I think that I'm not trying to judge, but it's getting a bit like alienating to have all these subplots of the supernatural elements, the devils, the angels, something about Jane disappearing. Honestly, at the end, I had to go back a few chapters and reread just to make sure that I missed something, because I thought maybe you thought that Jane had just left and forgot to write her in the last chapter or something. It's a bit confusing.
Well, I'll admit it definitely strays from its roots, but this 7th installment is one that's worth the wait.
And I waited, believe me. I reread 1 through 6. I reread 1 again and 5 or 6 more times after that just to make sure that I was ready. But listen, I'm not a writer, and I know that I'm just a fan of the series, but the first one is just so pure and it's just a straightforward mystery. Sure, there's supernatural elements, like the hinted at some of the involvement with Jane and sort of that like mysterious lover idea, but it was about the mystery. We knew that the dean was evil from chapter 2 because you practically told us he was, and the mystery wasn't so much about who did it, but how and why. And then when the mystery was solved, you added a bigger bad guy that made us excited for the next book. This one just, it felt done at the end. It doesn't feel like there's really a hook getting me to read the 8th one whenever that one, comes.
Done? I don't know what you could possibly mean. Jane and Peter are separated. How will they reunite? You're baiting me. I'm about to give away all my secrets.
Well,
but I hear
Jane's
you
gone
about
now. So is are you gonna find her? Is she somewhere else? Are we going to another plane of existence?
And you see all these questions. You're craving answers. We're going back to the core of the series of Whispers in the Dark. We're going to the mysteries.
But the emotion shouldn't be frustration. When I read the first one, it's a warm blanket, and when I read the 5th one, it's a empty house that I'm afraid of every corner that I turn around. But the 7th one, it's a wall that I hit, and I'm done. And Peter and Jane are separated, and that honestly the relationship was toxic enough that it's probably better for both of them. No.
Interesting perspective.
I'm just saying. I think that you were asking me last night that if I thought the first one was derivative, and I was telling you that I thought it was approachable is a good word. You're writing for everyone, but I'm just a small town girl. I'm just looking for some scary romance. She kind of like raises her eyebrow at you.
Well, my other muse is, as you know, gone, and perhaps that has affected my writing. But I'm sure the spark will be back in the 7th book. 8th book, excuse me.
Yeah. See, it gets confusing after a while. But again, I don't know. Maybe, it was originally Daniel and I's thing, and he would help me with some of the more complicated plots during 4. But I don't know. Just my opinion. Again, I'm not a writer. I don't want to tell you how to do your thing. But and she kind of like holds the book sideways, and she says, "This should be barely holding together. You should see the other 6."
Hey, Tilly, do you want her to sign it?
Sure.
This one, your least favorite.
Yeah. And she kind of like puts it on the table and like pulls a pen out of her the front pocket of her pants and sort of puts it down next to it.
Dearest Tilly, to the mysteries found within... ... Hope they don't catch up with you. Love, Marie.
She kind of looks at it and nods appreciatively. Grabs the pen back. Wow, that was
Did you read that out loud? Sorry.
Oh yeah, I read it as I was writing it.
Well, that was my 2 cents. You should all get ready. I'll leave the food for Nate. There's still a couple pancakes left if you wanted them.
They were delicious. Buttermilk? Was it buttermilk?
Literally don't know how to make any other kind.
Thank you
yeah.
for the feedback. I always welcome it.
All right. She kind of goes back to the bar or like back through the bar door, leaves you all there.
When she leaves, I'm gonna lean into the rest of the group and say, "Folks, I don't think I like Tilly."
Why?
What the fuck was that?
That's why.
Really? This
are
is
you
not the
not-
first time. Tons of people have opinions on books.
I
It's
mean,
Yeah.
true. You get used to it.
There's been
Yeah, but
ruder people. At least she had thoughts on what she wanted to see or read.
there's such a thing as respect, you know? You didn't have to write those books. You wrote those books because you wanted to. And if you didn't write them, she wouldn't get to read them. So, yeah, she can have an opinion, but her walking up to you like that, breakfast, you just ate. Your food hasn't even digested yet. And she's out here complaining about the book that you wrote for her. I don't know.
no,
I
I
just think it's a
agree
little
with you.
disrespectful.
Something about delivery, and it was like the more she spoke, the more amped and tense it seemed. Like it was personal. I don't know.
People get really into books. I agree
It's
with
the
you.
same with...
It's
Oh, go ahead.
rude.
Sorry, Andy. Carl.
Yeah, I agree. It is rude, but like I said, it's not the worst my mom has seen.
Well, I was gonna say, back when me and your dad were on the hockey team, we used to get people coming up to us acting like we were playing for them. They acted like we were their employees, and they were coming and criticizing the jobs we were doing. Half the time, they didn't even know what they were talking about. They barely even knew the rules, and they'd be complaining about things they didn't even understand. But even so, if you're getting entertainment, I don't see the point of coming up and just being a real jabroni to the person who gave you the entertainment.
And people do it in what I do too. It's different when you receive it than you watch it.
I
Nobody
guess my
deserves
equivalent
that.
to that is people Googling their symptoms and thinking that they know how to handle what.
I've
What it
been right
is.
a couple times when I've gone to the doctor, and they're like, yes, that is what you have.
Yeah. I'm not saying it wouldn't work, but sometimes it can be worse.
Well, thank you for the encouragement. I guess the fans are just also a bit antsy, considering this is the longest I've gone without releasing. Although she didn't seem to want the next one either. Who knows?
It's like J.R.R. Martin.
Exactly.
After a while, you polish off your coffees and your plates, and everything starts getting kind of cold. Tilly comes back out now in a puffy baby blue jacket with a hood on the back. And she sort of looks at you and she says, "I'll clean up the rest when I get back. We should probably head out if we're going to make it in time. Is anyone staying behind?"
Oh, I could use a night's town hall extravaganza. I figure I'll come.
I'm hoping
All right.
they can answer some of our questions.
Perfect. Well, grab your coats. I'll lead you. I'll lead you to town hall. I'll be locking up. Y'all grab your coats.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
She sort of leads you to the front door of the strange diner entrance and leads you out. Follows behind and locks up. And as you all leave, the wind is pressing up against you, and you sort of have to like push up against it Some of you harder than others to keep straight. But despite that, the town seems friendlier looking than it was during the evening. The square that's in front of you outside the inn is a quaint roundabout. There's a few shops in the area that you can sort of see through the blinding white of the snow. You can see few people sort of making their way up the main road, like almost 45 degrees up against the wind. And as Tilly leads you, following them, you see rows of various sized houses, now looking a lot less ominous now that you can see them in the light of day. It's as if the face of the town was hidden in shadow, and now it's sort of come into the light. She doesn't really regard you too much, other than sort of like pointing at a few homes and rattling off names that you don't process or can barely hear against the sound of the wind as she leads you up the main road. The time is 10:53 a.m. as you all make your way to what almost looks like a large, elaborate barn that's been remodeled over decades. The shape of the building still resembles its original form, but years of facelifts have pulled a new skin tight over the skeleton. Outside, you see a cluster of people talking, huddled against the cold, and one of them looks over at you, Carl. You lock eyes for a moment. She's tall, wearing black boots, black tights, and a long maroon jacket with a hood pulled up. You see raven black hair pouring over the sides, flanking the side of her face. She stares, unblinking, with piercing green eyes. No emotion. A beat goes by, and suddenly she's in mid-conversation, turning back to her group. And you continue forward to the building. Tilly sort of makes her way in, and you see a small mud room where people sort of slam their boots down to leave off excess wood, and a few of them take off their coats and hang them up in an oversized storage space off to the side. The room proper is a fairly large space that almost resembles a high school gym on the inside. You see basketball hoops that have sort of been pulled up to the ceiling, and off on the far wall is a stage. Rows of fold-out chairs have been arranged with an aisle down the center, and you can see clusters of people who have entered in front of you, who are grabbing new ones from a cart off to the side and continuing to almost fill a formation that is formed. There's chatter and talking amongst the groups, and the room feels very lively, especially in contrast to the quiet, desolate Lake Morana that you have been accustomed to over the last night. What do you do as you enter?
Find a seat. Oh, Carl's gonna go find a seat. Is there like a pamphlet somewhere or anything like that? Or is it just like, go get a seat?
You just see people entering and sort of walking off to the side wall. As I said, there's sort of like a large cart that has folding chairs in it, and you see people just grabbing their own chair and lining them up with everybody else.
Yeah, Carl will grab a chair and grab one for their mom too.
All right.
As we head in, before we're actually in the building, are there cars out front? Does it seem like people just had to walk here?
There's a few cars off to the side, but you mostly see people sort of flocking from the streets. You can catch a few people like coming out of their home across the street and like locking the door and walking across. It seems that given the weather and the state of the roads, a lot of people have mostly opted to just walk. And as you came down the main road, you get a sense that the town itself isn't so large that walking is a great ordeal. It's just the cold and the wind is mostly stopping people.
And does there seem to be a general vibe of the crowd as they're coming in? And I'm sitting down with Carl. Are people? Is it business as usual? Does it seem like there's something tense going on?
As you enter, it seems not jovial, but more familial. There's people sort of like hugging as they talk to each other and like chatting and stuff. It seems like nobody seems stressed out, or those that do aren't creating the majority of the noise in the room. They're maybe already sitting down and prepared for what's to come. But as you enter, Marie specifically, you hear a voice off to the side call your name.
Yes. And I'll turn.
Looking off to the side, you see Jack. Now, in the light of day, he looks like a completely different person. He's wearing a thick forest green turtleneck sweater. His hair and thick salt and pepper beard are groomed and neat, and the skin on his sun-damaged face is almost wrinkled as he smiles weakly at you. And he sort of approaches, but slow enough that he's almost hoping that you'll meet him halfway as a sign of wanting to talk to him.
Hello, and I'll like quickly. I'm very short. It takes me a little bit to get over there, but I do.
As you approach, you get a strong scent of cologne, and you get the impression that he's like that. When he tries to dress up, that's one of his additions.
Wearing your Sunday best, I see, and smell.
I said, kind of like lifts up his arm. Sorry about that. And he almost immediately goes from being this like capable, strong man to almost like a guilty looking puppy for a moment. As he looks up and he says, kind of with his face turned towards you, like he's looking at the sun, I just wanted to apologize about last night. It was late and I was tired, but that's no excuse. Your guest here shouldn't have been so short with you.
Oh, it's no trouble. I was gossiping when clearly I should have just came to the town hall. Everyone's here. I'm sure I'll get the I was gonna say know-how, the way of the land here.
Yeah, I shouldn't have told you all those things about leaving your car out there. I think I was just trying to scare you a bit, but again, I'm sorry. I hope I can clear things up. Yeah,
well,
that's all I can say.
Apology accepted. Do you have a seat? Carl just got one for me. We can grab one for you.
I'm actually on the council. So mine, and he sort of like points up, I'll be going up on the stage.
Well, and I do a little curtsy with my rockabilly skirt. I'll see you up there. I'll be over there. And I just point to my
kind
kid.
of like bows a little bit and then like does that thing where he realizes that was kind of awkward and turns his wheelchair around and starts making his way.
Going to get my car?
Just wait until after we can talk about it.
Okay. Thank you.
And he sort of like makes his way around the crowd as Carl gets your chair for you. Nate and Laura, what are you doing?
I think Nate probably would have gone and sat as well. Like basically look around, see what the deal is. If it's just town hall, people are filing in, milling about. I got nobody to mill with. So I think from as far as I'm concerned, I'm planting and just waiting for things to kick off.
All right. Laura?
I'd probably do the same. I'm just taking the lead. And I have nobody else to talk to. I'm probably like watching Marie's conversation very nosily. But we have to get chairs, correct?
Yeah.
So I would probably grab a chair for myself, and if Nate needed one, and sidle up next to Carl in the empty chair for Marie.
Sounds good. Nate, it is uncomfortable sitting in these chairs. They're
Ooh.
very similar to the ones that they use at school. You like half fit, but your cheeks are sort of hanging off the side. There's a unsettling creak as you sit down in it. That it's almost as if the chair is like whining, like threatening you to break.
I'm gonna lean forward, like with put some of my weight onto my knees, and just sort of like, I think, in general, I feel very uncomfortable in this place. I feel uncomfortable with these circumstances. There's a lot of emotions that I'm going through, and I have no real space to process them. And on top of that, like, I'm in an unfamiliar place. The people here are like nice enough, but like they haven't been, like, even Tilly was like, look, like she was like nice, but it wasn't like a, look folks, I am so sorry, I understand, you know, I know that this is, it was more of just like a, yeah, well, you know. And so I'm like, okay, just sort of sitting there, sort of leaning onto my knees and sort of try to pull myself in on myself, like my whole body is trying to compress in on itself to take up less space and be a little bit more insular, I think.
That's
Do you need me to move my chair over more?
Oh, yeah, no, thanks. If you're seated, without even really thinking, I will just lean over and just like casually slide it over a little bit.
While we're sitting here, is the girl that was staring at me with like the raven hair, like in the building now? Is she still looking at me weird?
You don't see her. She was still outside when you guys entered, but as your row ends and people start to form up, if you're sort of like looking around, you actually see her grab a chair and set it up right behind you.
Is she still like staring at me weird?
Give me a spot hidden roll.
Ooh, okay. Let's see. Will I be as lucky as Katie?
Laura, yeah.
Wow.
50 out of 70.
Ooh.
You get that sort of you do that over the shoulder look that you do in theaters, and you can see that you kind of catch her just as she's turning from looking at you and sort of chatting absent-mindedly with the person sitting next to her, and then like looks over into the crowd. It doesn't look like she's trying to cover up the fact that you caught her looking at you, more that she's like gone back into citizen of the town mode.
Do I hear like what they're conversing about?
Mostly just like, I can't believe that Theo's here. They really messed up this place in the winter. I can't, like, that basketball thing's definitely broken, etc. Just like small talk, like has the kids, etc.
Okay. So nothing
But
interesting.
just
And
seems
Carl
to be chatting with people.
turns back and just kind of watches their mom as they're walking back.
Cool. As everybody settles in, occasionally the door opens and a burst of cold air comes into the room, and everyone sort of like jokingly shouts at the person coming in, and they shut it behind them. A few minutes pass before anybody else comes, so you see up on the stage 4 chairs and Jack, and you see 4 people occupying the chairs. And as everyone's sort of settling in, you hear a whisper over your shoulder, Carl. Hey, I'm Mara, by the way. You're with the group that came in last night, right?
a little bit weirded out that someone's talking to them from the back, kind of like jumps a little
She's
and
kind of like
turns, is
leaning on the back of your chair a bit and just like has that thing where she's like looking forward with you, just like chatting at you.
Carl will turn a little bit and looks to the side of them and is like, yeah,
Cool.
why?
Well, welcome to the town. I mean, you're the youngest person that has come here in a while. It's nice to have someone that might be cool. Are you cool, Carl?
Probably not.
Well, that's a good start. Just think of me as your codex. Let me point out the council for you here. And sort of like leans in a bit, like almost like too familiar. She sort of like leans in and starts like pointing. And Marie, you can see this person like sort of leaning in, completely ignoring the rest of you, talking to Carl. And she's sort of taken her hood down. And so all you kind of get is this just like wall of this raven hair that is kind of like shoulder length, but has a lot of like body to it. And you catch the side of her face, and she is beautiful. And pointing out, she says, "All right, on the far right there, that's our mare. You can tell because she's the oldest." And she points towards at the far end. You see these people all sort of like leaning over, talking to each other. And there's an old, dark-skinned woman wearing nothing but handmade clothes, just like knitted sweater, like patchwork pants. And she's just sort of like talking to a man sitting next to her, who looks like a bored cop. And she sort of points, Mara sort of turns her finger over and she says, "That's the sergeant, Elias Novak. He's the best we've got, I guess." And you can see he's sort of like crossed arms, still wearing his like black police jacket, hat just sort of like turned down a bit. His feet are kicked out and his legs are crossed, and he almost looks put off, like this is an inconvenience to him. And Mara sort of turns her finger some more and she says, "Now that one over there, that's Riley. She's the sheriff. And she's much cooler than Elias." And you see a very like straight-backed woman sitting next to Elias, and she's also wearing a police uniform, but it's the like black button-up undershirt. She has her hat on her like lap. She is a Korean woman with very like straight black hair that sort of also meets her shoulder, and she seems very like protocol in this moment. And then Mara's finger keeps going. "That one over there, that's Dr. Samuel. He's well, he always looks like that." And as you see, he's a sloppily dressed man, unshaven, salt and pepper beard, sort of like thinning cut hair. He has tan skin and wears like these thick-looking doctor's glasses, and has like a half-buttoned overshirt and like wrinkled khakis. And finally, she goes over to the last person. She says, "That's Jack right there. Seems like your mom already knows who that is. He's cool. Anyways," and sort of like leans back into her chair.
You said I was one of the youngest people that has ever visited here?
She sort of, you like look back, and she's already leaning back in her chair, and like smiles back at you and sort of raises her eyebrows a little bit, and then nudges back to the stage, where you can see that the mayor is now standing up.
Right. And Carl will awkwardly look back up at the stage, but does look back a couple times, but then back up at the stage.
Every time you look back at Mara, almost gives you like a different expression, as if she's like not mocking, but being sort of playful each time you look back. But regardless, you see this old woman almost like moving like a marionette as she gets herself up off her chair and slowly walks towards a single microphone that's set up at the front of the stage. And as she grabs it, you hear a like feedback noise as she picks it up. And you see this figure in front of the stage sort of like jump up off of their chair and rush towards what you now see as a large audio setup of cables and like amps and speakers and stuff like that. And Laura, you clock, you can only see the back of this guy, but he has blonde hair that's sort of pulled up into a bun, cargo pants, and you recognize like gaffer tape and stuff hanging off his belt, and a shirt that you swear you would never see out in the wild, an Owl Riot tour shirt. As he sort of like makes adjustments on this tech and then gives the thumbs up to the mayor, he sort of like slinks back into his chair. And the mayor once again just sort of like taps the mic and says, thank you to our resident techie, Walt, always making these town hall meetings more appropriate for the 21st century. As you all know, my name is Maureen Bachman, and you hear like laughter, and she says, yes, I'm... Anyways, it's very lovely to see so many of you make it, even in this terrible weather. We're so very sorry that we had to call you here under such short notice, but obviously with the phones and the internets on the fritz, it was easier to meet in person. Even if only a half or so of you could make it, I trust that you'll give your friends and neighbors the news. As you may or may not know, the reports show a blizzard, which should keep up for a few days. We're already seeing it today, but from what I'm hearing, I fear the worst is yet to come. It's likely that we'll have to hunker down and weather this thing for a while now, but I trust that each and every one of you is up to the task. And she sort of starts to ramble a bit as Mara once again leans into your chair, Carl. Now, I know what you're thinking, and you'd be right. If you check the back of the stage, there's a team of puppeteers working her like Jim Henson. If you cut any one of those wires, she'd probably fall over.
Carl kind of smiles a little bit. First time, maybe like an actual genuine smile. But doesn't say anything.
Also, that's Walt who's doing the tech. He's cool too. And she sort of like leans back again and smiles to herself.
Does it really look like the mayor's being controlled, or does it seem like she's just fucking with me?
It looks like it's a joke, obviously, but she seems to be like sort of she has that sort of wobbly shakiness of a woman well up in her years.
Right.
Now, I know that some of you have been through this in the past, but for those of you who haven't, and for those of you from out of town, and she sort of like lazily gestures towards your group, we have a few folks that will tell you protocol and how to keep yourself safe in these coming days. So please give a hand to Sheriff Riley Kwan, and please save any questions until the end. and she sort of stands there as the sheriff stands up and walks over, hat still in hand, and takes the mic from her as Maureen sort of walks back to her seat. And you can see Riley sort of straighten up. Hello. As our mayor said, my name is Riley Kwan. I'm here to inform you that the roads, unfortunately, will be cut off. We will, unfortunately, be unable to plow them for the safety of Jack, as well as any crews that we may have to call in if we were able to call them in. We do have contact with other police stations outside of the town, and they are experiencing similar weather and estimate that they will also be trapped for the time being. There are supplies, however, as you sort of hear people in the crowd sort of rumble up a little bit. We have salt and chains and any other supplies that you may need stored here. And Tilly and Mr. Foster have also offered their services if people happen to run out of food. We do recommend, please try to ration as much as possible. We were expecting a supply run, I hear from Tilly, so that obviously won't be coming in. And she sort of like looks back at the other police officer and sort of, he just like half-heartedly nods, and she looks back to the crowd. Now, myself and other police will be making rounds daily to check up on people. The phone lines are down, so communication will be limited. If you need anything, please let us know when we make our rounds, or if you can safely make it to the station, do so. And you hear behind you, Carl, she is killing it up there. And Riley says, I will now give the floor to Dr. Morselli. And she sort of gives a half nod to the crowd and waits for the doctor to come up, who seems to have forgotten that he was going to be saying stuff, and sort of looks up and, oh, yeah, stands up and grabs the mic from her and holds it a bit too close to his mouth as he talks into it. I just wanted to let everybody know that I will be canceling any appointments that aren't critical. Don't worry, I'll reschedule them. I have them written down. If anyone has any accidents, please don't hesitate to send someone to get me, or to bring them if it's safe. Try not to move people if they fall. I was also looking to have a shipment at the end of the week, but as you can see, that roads probably aren't going to let that happen. Anyways, here's Jack, and sort of half-heartedly hands it to Jack, who comes up to the front of the stage. And you can see almost like a look of disappointment in Jack's face as he looks to the doctor and then addresses the crowd. As everyone said, things are going to be tough for a bit. The roads are going to be unsafe, and I don't think there's any chance that we can get out of town for a while. I'll be making rounds, and I'll help out wherever I can, but please try to stay off the roads as much as possible. I'll be trying to plow the main street to keep them as drivable as possible, but I recommend that anybody who maybe lives further away find a friend on the main road, or if you can, please offer your home to others if you are closer to essential services. I have made plans to get supplies out to Miss Zaman. We have plenty of supplies for her, but I won't be able to make it out until the lake is frozen. I do anticipate that maybe within the day or two. She does have stuff out there, so she will be hopefully okay for the time being. As always, make sure to take care of the less abled members of our community and help out your neighbors as best you can. Are there any questions? and you see a few people put up their hands. Someone immediately stands up, and you hear, "Are the phone lines going to be coming back anytime soon?" To which Jack replies, "We're not too sure. We're trying to communicate with some people using the police radio to help us out. Walt here is going to make attempts, but it's more of a big picture problem. So please don't put too much pressure on him. He will be doing the best that he can." And a few people start standing and asking more innocuous questions. Do any of you raise your hands?
I had raised my hand initially, but now seeing that people are just standing up, I'm gonna stand up.
Alright.
As soon as they're done, I'm just gonna.
Ooh.
Jack sort of like looks weirdly impressed at sort of the like assertion and points out. He says, "Oh yes, of course. We have a few guests to our town. I'll let you all introduce yourselves." And sort of points. "You have the floor, sir."
Oh, okay. All right. Hello. My name, you can call me Nate. Nate Freeman. I wanted to know. You said we're not going to be able to leave for a while. Now, do you have any idea how long a while is?
Yes. So, unfortunately, I'm not able to get accurate minute-to-minute information about the storm, but when I did manage to check it before it hit, it does look like we're anticipating upwards of 3 days. Hopefully, we get the worst of it on maybe day 2, so that on day 3 I can try to get you good folks out of here.
Okay. Have there been similar storms like this? Like here there have been, right?
You hear murmuring around the crowd of like, "Oh yeah, like 10, 20 years ago, I was around. I was just a kid the last time this happened." And just like kind of inconsistent murmurings. And Jack kind of like looks out at them and unfortunately the layout of the lake, we're sort of in a wind tunnel. So when these sort of storms come through, as infrequent as they are, and he sort of like looks out, usually it's nothing worse than 4 or 5 feet of snow, but it's probably been about 20 years since something that this bad that we're anticipating.
Okay, and you said you expect the storm to keep going for up to as many as 3 days, and then after, on the 3rd day of the storm, you're hoping you're going to be able to get us out of here?
He kind of looks up and thinks for a moment. I will try my best. I know that it can't be easy for you all having... And at that moment, you see Liam sort of like stand up weakly from the crowd. "Having come for my father's funeral," he sort of looks over at Nate and then looks back at Jack. "I have a question. Are the roads up to the falls accessible or not?" And an immediate silence over the crowd happens, and you see all of the council members and the mayor slouch as their heads sort of dip for a bit. And Jack bites his lip and thinks, "Now, Liam, I know how important this was, but..." And you hear Liam like immediately retort, "We've been planning this for a month. Everything is ready. My father is up there, and you're telling me that we can't even get to him?" Jack sort of like looks over. It's just not safe. Those roads aren't properly paved, and the snow is... It's just going to be too heavy. We can't just push the snow into the woods and hope for the best. I will try everything I can. But I need to prioritize the safety of this town before my father. After everything he's done. After... And you see Liam sort of like wobble a bit. And then collapse. His legs sort of give out from underneath him as he falls into the chair in front of him and almost face plants. And you see the crowd sort of like stand up
Carl
and form
rush
around
over.
him. And as you do, you like have to push your way through the crowd, and you see Liam sort of like on his side now, people trying to push the chairs away from him.
Carl will check him and try to make sure he's medically okay.
Roll me a first aid check.
Right. Regular?
Regular. You also see now the doctor sort of like leap up from his chair on the stage as well and start making his way
That was a
towards
yikes.
the group.
68 to 70. That was so close to not being a success.
Have we had a
Oh.
failure yet this session?
No.
Don't think
No, that's scary because we're
so. Just building it up.
Ah!
yeah.
As the crowd sort of like makes a circle around you and like pulls the chairs away, and you sort of move Liam off his side. He is pale, like all of the blood has left his face at this point. And you check his pulse, and it is incredibly weak. And seeing him this close in the light, you can tell that he is malnourished, sleep deprived, and has probably hit his limit at this point.
Carl just says calmly to like this crowd that's around him, anyone have any water or food?
You see a couple people like look around, and then some of them like reach in and grab a thermos as the doctor sort of starts pushing his way through.
And Carl will try to give him something to drink.
It is indeed water, and you can sort of like support his head a bit. He is awake, but doesn't seem too lucid, as his eyes are sort of like not focusing on anything. And the doctor sort of pushes through the crowd as well, and you see Samuel come up and sort of stop. Out of the way. I'm the doctor here.
I'm a doctor too, but sure,
Oh.
go ahead.
Sort of like comes down on one knee, and he says, "How's he look?" And sort of like starts giving him a once over.
Seems like it's probably not eating enough.
Kind of like does it. He kind of like repeats all of the checks that you had done as well, and starts. He says, "Liam, can you hear me, Liam?" And Liam just sort of like drifting in and out says, "Dad? No, it's Dr. Samuel. You had a pretty bad fall there, kid. Listen, we're gonna get you.
Gonna be okay.
Yeah, you're gonna be okay. We're gonna get you back to Waltz. We're gonna get some food in you." Kind of like looks over at you. Do you know? Have you talked to Liam recently?
Last night.
Did he look all right? How did he seem?
From yesterday, did he look this pale and
Not
And
this pale, but
malnourished.
yeah,
he was very
malnourished?
beat. He was like,
Tired. I got that.
Yeah. But yeah.
But he didn't look this bad.
He looked bad.
Okay. He didn't look the greatest, but I coughed it up to not a lot of sleep. maybe.
All right.
He seemed
So
really tired. He was drinking a lot
probably
of
just
coffee.
exhaustion. Yeah. Liam, I told you to lay off the coffee, bud, and you gotta sleep regular human hours. And he sort of like laughs a bit, but we're gonna get someone to get you. You're going back to Waltz, all right? And you see Liam sort of just like nod as he tries to stand up, and like a few people come to like support him. Bill, you can get him back to Walt's place, right? Yeah. All right. And he sort of like starts to stumble away, and you hear like a few like half-hearted claps as he's led back to the mudroom.
I think Carl's kind of standing there for a moment and then kind of shakes it off and heads back to where his mom and her friends are.
Wait. I didn't. And you see Dr. Samuel sort of like stand up. Dr. Samuel Marcelli, nice to meet you.
Carl Wilson.
Oh. You're a med student?
Yeah. Or was.
Well, it's good to have another doctor in town then. Listen, could I maybe talk to you later? I think we might be a bit overwhelmed here. If you were willing to offer your services at all.
Yeah. If my mom doesn't need anything else, sure.
Yeah, I'll meet up with you. I got a lot to do.
Where would you like me to meet you?
I was gonna say the hospital, but you probably don't know where that is.
No.
I'll get in touch. I'll find a way.
Okay. The phones don't really work.
Yeah. I didn't think too ahead of this. Go back to your mom. I'll think about it.
Right.
Sort of like
Carl
walks
even
away.
more confused when he walks back.
Thank you for helping that person.
It was Liam.
It was Liam.
Yeah. Were you not paying attention to him? He's kind of freaking out. If the funeral doesn't happen, it's kind of a big deal for him, I'm sure.
I didn't realize that it was him that was the one that collapsed as well. Oh my goodness.
Nate has been standing the entire time. This absolutely, like, people just started freaking out, running over to Liam.
And you're tall, so you can like see everything that's going on.
So just sort
It
of
makes
towering
sense.
over
Marie can't see
everybody.
anything.
Exactly. I had Marie just like.
Yes, I am the toddler on your shoulders.
I looked. I'm just gonna lean down and be like, "Is he okay? Is he gonna make it?"
I thought this town was about like community. Did no one notice how bad he was doing?
I thought it was just because he wasn't getting a lot of sleep. I didn't really pay a lot of attention yesterday. After the car accident, I just wasn't really thinking.
Is it just
Sensible.
sleep? Is he just tired, or is it something bigger than that?
He looks like he hasn't eaten properly.
That's not good.
And that doesn't happen if you just didn't eat dinner. That's like long periods of time of not eating.
Yeah, I mean, compared to Ben, he's real skinny. Would that be a fair thing to say, GM? Would it be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Ben was lean, but Liam is. He's a little bit like he's hollowed out.
I mean, he did lose his father. Like, is it a normal grief?
Yeah,
You know,
people
I
don't eat sometimes when they're grieving. But a month of not eating is dangerous.
You see the council sort of reforming again as they talk, and Jack sort of grabs the mic again and he says, "Well, it seems like everything's been taken care of. Thank you, Carl, for seeing to one of our resident night owls. If there's any more questions, I'll continue taking them. And Mara sort of like leans into you again, sort of like rudely in the middle of your guys' conversation, and says, "Listen, that was heroic. Got me all excited. I could use a smoke. Do you want to get some fresh air? You must be pretty adrenaline."
Kind of looks at everybody else who's then looking at him.
Nate's
feeling
gonna
really
look outside
awkward.
and see the blizzard outside.
Feeling the
Just turn
awkwardness
back.
of like my mom and her friends. Yeah, I'd like that.
right.
Excuse me. And Carl will get up and follow her.
Laura will shamelessly just like get a good look at this person.
You need a coat, and Carl? And I'm just gonna like offer mine because it's
Carl
a
has a coat.
full-on
Yeah.
storm. Like, but it's a storm. Like you're walking out like.
Do you,
like
do you smoke, Carl?
No,
Mostly
but
curious because in healthcare, don't they?
No, I don't smoke. I'm
Oh,
Just
I
gonna
was
get a-
just curious.
some fresh
She looks
air.
at you, Laura, and again, you see just this like strikingly beautiful woman looking back at you with piercing green eyes. She says, "It's a parlance, a courtesy. Hey, you want to go get a smoke?" And then it's a joke because of the fresh air. It's not
Oh. When I was younger, it meant that we would go actually have a smoke.
Ah,
Well, now I know what
that
you were
was
doing,
that
Mom.
was a while ago.
And he looks at Marie.
Not anymore. Thanks to you.
Kind of like nods and smiles. I'll be
Wow.
all right.
And she just sort of like leads you away.
I turn
actually-
back to Laura and I'm like, how does getting a smoke equate to fresh air?
I don't know. It's probably one of those new slang things. Irony?
You'd think I would understand irony, but this one was lost on me.
Yeah,
It's good that he doesn't smoke.
The three of you see as well. Mara leads Carl to a side door, one of those like push doors. And as it opens, you see this brief window of calm as they exit and the door closes behind, leaving you all to the rest of the town hall meeting. Did any of you have any more questions that you wish to ask the council?
I'm trying to think of something that would be like relevant.
As
yeah,
you think, people are still standing up and sort of asking, like, I was supposed to get my roof fixed. Is that going to be a problem? And Jack sort of sighs and is answering what you would expect to be an open forum town hall meeting of just endless streams of questions.
I will stand up. Laura will stand up. And
Another guest of our towns, welcome. You have the floor.
sorry if I missed this, but when was the last time something like this happened?
You hear that, like, again, wave of just gossip mongering. And he says, again, early aughts, I think it was around 2001. I'd have to look through the records again, but it was definitely before my time. So I'm sort of going through standard procedure.
And you don't have an infrastructure for these kinds of storms?
You hear what you can only describe as the call of people who absolutely hate the overarching government, complaining about everything that you could ever imagine under the sun. The phone lines, the roads, the internet, the deliveries, and people just like this chorus of people complaining about all of the things that you might consider under the umbrella of infrastructures. Jack sort of waves his hand at people and he says, we're not one of the big cities that you would get where people come here, and the government thinks that they need to upgrade the infrastructure to accommodate for an influx of people. For the most part, we're going off of what we can get, what we've had, trying to keep up with, maintaining more than upgrading.
That's fair. I just, because the crowd was so unsettled by that simple question that, seems very innocuous, Laura's gonna just carefully choose her words. Usually, I grew up in a small town too. We had things in place, like we had a guy down the road who would slap on his plow and he would plow people's driveways. It's just the neighborly thing to do. I wasn't sure if there was a system in place, especially if this kind of weather isn't all that uncommon.
You hear someone loudly call out in the street, "Oh yeah, where's that?"
I don't owe you my life story. I'm not here to compare where I grew up to where I am now. I am here to ask questions because I have found myself in a situation I did not expect.
You see Jack, immediately come to your defense, and he's like, "Please, let's be civil." And he kind of looks over at you. He says, what you have to understand, and I mean no disrespect, is that we are north of the Rockies. We are straddling the line between civilization and the wild north. At a point in our history, we thrived. We had tourists coming in for the summers. We had lovebirds coming in for the winters. That's just not the case anymore. I know why you're here, and I sympathize with the unexpected nature of this storm. And I promise that if there's anything I can do to make your stay here any more pleasant and any less unpleasant.
Can I just say, I'm not looking for anyone to fix this for me. I'm just looking for information. You and the nice person who runs the place we're staying are apologizing and trying to make my stay more comfortable. You can't control a blizzard. You don't need to impress me. I'm not going to speak for the others. I just want to know that I can contact the people I care about. And I don't need to not be welcomed when I was invited here.
You see him immediately get flustered. And Riley stands up behind him and sort of comes up and puts a hand on his shoulder and grabs the mic. And she looks out at you and says, "I'll give it straight. It sucks. We're kind of fucked out here. We don't have a means of getting out of town for a while. The police station, if you come by, we do have a working radio. We can communicate short range with local towns, and maybe we can get a message out to your friend. We'll try to get as much information as we can. But as it stands, and I'll be honest with you, you just got to settle in."
And it's just one of those things where I look around the crowd. Are people just staring at me and kind of staring daggers at our group? Or is it just kind of you know how you can kind of get a vibe from a crowd?
It's a combination of eyes forward, ignore this, what's going on kind of feel, and the occasional older crowd staring at you as if you're trying to order the most complicated coffee, holding up the crowd behind you.
I think as Riley finishes up and I survey, I'm not shying away from looking at people in their face, if they're looking at me. And then I'll look up to Riley I'm okay with being fucked for a while. I've been there. So I think if we're all in this together. Sorry, you all laughed and it made me laugh.
I'm sorry.
It just got worse too.
I think Nate did visibly go.
I think if Nate did, out of the corner of Laura's eye, she starts to smile because it's one of classic Laura's stumbles on words.
You also
just
see just the like sternest, like biting back a laugh from Riley, as Sergeant Elias behind her just sort of like hangs his head, and like stands up, and immediately gets this like era of authority and walks up to her and not forcefully, but definitely like authoritatively takes the mic from her and sort of like nods and looks out at the crowd and says, we've said all we had. The police need to get back to work. I recommend everyone go home. Kind of looks over at you, whatever home that might be, and hunker in. Because as Riley said so eloquently, we're pretty fucked and we're doing the best we can.
All I'm saying is I'm ready to hunker.
I appreciate that, ma'am. I'll hand it off to the mayor to soften the exit a little bit. And you see Maureen
Marie
like
stands up. Sorry, I realize you're wrapping up here. I just had 2 questions. One, is there anything that we can do to prepare ourselves in case of power outages? Is there wood that needs to be chopped? Anything to keep the heat up? And the other is...
We have generators. Most of the houses are connected to generators.
Excellent. Thank you. I didn't know. And the other thing I don't know is, where is your muster station?
Kind of like looks at you for a sec as the keeper Googles what a muster station is.
It means like where
Nate,
you meet up, where you group up. It's a
If there's an emergency.
like people queue up and they muster. It's like a.
I'm also now trying to decide if he would know.
Nate is gonna lean. Nate is gonna lean over quietly and be like, "Marie, they're rationing. They're not gonna have that much muster."
He looks up to the ceiling, and you can see you can see the struggle of a man in power trying to not reveal that he doesn't know what you're talking about. You're gonna have to be more clear on your question.
Right. Apologies. I'm curious if there's a plan of action for the people of the town to take into effect if something terrible happens, more terrible than the storm. Should we go somewhere to meet up and
here?
Excellent. I already know where here is, so that's helpful.
Perfect. All right, here's your mayor. And Maureen, sort of like looking as if she didn't want to stand anymore, kind of gets up and walks up to the mic. In the meantime, as I said, Carl, the moment that you and Mara step out, it's as if the wind takes a break for a moment. You can see to your left sort of an annex that's built on the side of this building in the direction that the wind is coming from. So there's almost this like feeling that perhaps you're in a bubble, but you seem unaccosted by the wind for the time being as Mara pulls out a pack of cigarettes and lights one and sort of like gestures it politely to you.
Carl shakes her head and kind of motions. No, thank you.
She puts one hand in the pocket of her jacket and sort of shivers a bit. She starts smoking and says, "That was pretty cool. You just leap into action like that when shit goes down."
I guess it depends on what shit is going down. Sometimes I just stand there. It's funny because earlier. I just stood in a place trying to figure out where to sit. But in that situation, I just moved to him to help him.
So I'm guessing you're doctor, nurse, superhero.
Trying to be a doctor.
So it's like a trained muscle memory, something like that.
Something like that.
Cool. What's the superhero doctor do for fun?
I watch TV shows sometimes.
Nice.
What about you?
Just kind of like gestures out to the town. That's pretty much it. All you can really do in this town is find something to make you think you're not in this town. Watch a lot of movies.
Why are you still here? I mean, if you feel that way, it seemed like you. Sorry.
I mean, how's the economy out there? You got a cheap apartment. You saving up that 401k. You're got that. What's the probably no debt. I mean, doctors historically get paid so much that their debt's gone within days, and that's doctors.
I'm lucky. My situation makes it so money isn't really something I have to worry about. But my apartment is enough space for me to live.
So you're privileged. Cool.
Something like that. My mom is a famous writer.
Oh, I know.
So you already knew the answer to the question?
Yeah, but that's not how conversation goes.
Okay,
Plus, I
well
was
then-
being an asshole. You asked me why I didn't leave, and I sarcastically said that the economy was fucked up out in the real world.
But you didn't answer my question.
Which one? The knowing who you are, or why I haven't left yet?
Why you haven't left yet? If that's how you feel about this place.
I'm kind of like the shadow version of you, a fail son, if you will.
What does that mean?
I didn't really have the opportunity to learn skills or the interest to do so.
Then what do
This
you
town's
do?
pretty cheap, and living's pretty easy. It's just very boring. But nobody really
Boring?
wants to hire a layabout with no education.
Boring can be nice sometimes.
Yeah, first couple times for sure. But 20 odd years of that, well, you find your own way to have fun.
So what do you
Can I
do
tell
for
you a
fun?
secret?
Uh,
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Kind of like leans in and takes a long drag and chucks the cigarette into the snow and gets like a wicked look on her face. I'm a witch, Carl.
Right. Does she
You
look
know what
serious?
a coven is? I mean, you can give me a... Oh no, where's my note? Psychoanalyze?
Okay. Oh, it's
that the-
psychoanalyzed, not psychology. All right.
Is psychology... I lost my blank equals...
Insight is
It's pinned.
psychology.
It's
Psychology, then.
Okay.
I lost my psychology equals insight note from last
Regular?
episode. Yep.
46 out of 60. You
God,
did good
Another
today.
success.
I know. I'm scared.
She's-
It's building up.
She is putting on more dramatized, like she seems almost like she's trying to test you a bit by like scaring you.
Oh, okay.
But you aren't too sure if the information is genuine enough because she's sort of hiding it behind that airs.
So you do have a profession then. Which, what,
I mean, in this social economics society, I don't like to say that witch is definitely a profession, but
what would it be if it's not a profession?
I mean, profession implies that it's people want me to do it and will pay me to do it, whereas
Someone might pay
vocation
you
is
to do it.
more.
Look, I've seen fortune tellers. People are crazy sometimes. Do you tell
Yeah,
people's
but they're
fortune? What do you do
usually
as a witch? Like, what's a witch do exactly?
Well, I got a coven.
Okay.
Walt and Riley are also fellow witches, and we try to make this place fun. We make sacrifices. We commune with demons and otherworldly beings. We drink and ascend ourselves to another plane of understanding to better learn ourselves of the divine celestial process in life.
So you're like a priest. You have
Ugh,
your own little
no.
church.
More like a heathen, a pagan.
Okay.
We mostly hang out and drink in my place.
Right.
Anyways, how would you like to join the coven, Carl?
I don't know about joining a coven, but it appears I'm going to be here for a few days. I could hang out. I don't really drink much.
It's either us or team old in there.
Yeah. I'm here with my mom and her friends.
Ugh.
Yeah. It's been
I'm sure they don't want a
weird.
hip, cool, lackadaisical, whatever they would call you, guy hanging out, right?
I don't think anyone has ever called me that before,
I don't know.
but I'll take it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we're having a coven meeting at around 8-ish, my place. You don't know where that is.
No.
Do you know where Walt lives?
No, but Liam knows where Walt lives.
Yeah, but Liam took a spill, so I don't know if he's going to be handy for a while.
Yeah, do you know
Do you know where
the-
Riley lives?
No.
What places, what locations of our dear tiny town do you know, Mr. Carl?
Tilly's
Ah,
and the town hall, I guess, now.
well,
Do you
how
mean
about
Riley, like the sheriff Riley?
Yes, you've met her?
I mean, she's talking at the town hall.
Yes. The uptight, button up, straight lace, straight back
Is
police
part of
officer
a
Riley
witch
Kwan is
coven.
part of our. Hell yeah.
Interesting. This town just keeps getting more interesting.
Give it a few days. That'll stop pretty quickly.
It has yet to. But no, I don't know where any of those places are.
How about I just pick you up at Tilly's 8?
Sure.
All right. What do you drink?
Water, milk, orange juice, apple juice. I mean, I can keep going.
All right. I'll make sure that my fridge is stocked to the brim with juices and milk.
I mean, you don't have to have all those things. Like, just.
I look out for my fellow witches, Carl, and by the end of the night, you'll be one of us. She starts
Right.
cackling as she starts walking back towards the door.
Carl looks around and is a little confused. But I guess he kind of like watches her. He's checking her out. And he's
The moment
standing
she
very
crosses
awkwardly.
The moment she crosses the threshold into the gym, you are buffeted in the back by wind as it picks up again.
Carl pulls her jacket tighter and will scurry closer or towards, like following her towards the door.
And as you enter, you see the town hall meeting sort of dying down. And unless Laura had further questions, you can see the group of your mother and her friends sitting down.
Wave Carl over.
Carl will head on over.
If
Yeah.
Carl's coming over, I think I would lean over. Do you have any questions, Carl?
No, I'm good.
Then I just sit back.
You see Mara as well, like walking to the stage and starts talking to Walt as he's sort of like disassembling the audio equipment, and the council is sort of like mingling together, talking. People are starting to stand up and grab their chairs around you.
Nate's gonna stand up and scoop everybody's chairs, and basically look at the group and say, so are we just gonna head back to Tilly's then? It seems like there isn't much else to be done.
Yeah, we have
cold
to
out there.
hunker down.
Yeah.
At least we don't have to chop wood. I don't know why they got so offended by that question. I was offering assistance.
Why did
Offended by
they?
you asking about wood?
Why did they get so cagey about when the last storm was?
This town has... Tilly was the most welcoming until this morning.
Why'd you
And
guys
I
ask that
mean-
again? Didn't you already ask Tilly about the storms?
Well, yeah, but in fact, actually, this is a good question. GM, were Tilly's answer, because Tilly, I think, had said that they had been snowed in before, but I don't remember if she had said
She
when
said like
that
2
was.
weeks sometime it took.
It's been pretty consistent, about 20 years or so. You don't get the impression that people are intentionally not giving you a year. You just get the idea that like it's been 20 years ago. It was either like
Okay.
2001, 2005. Who knows?
Okay. Then I will instead say, it just seems like you said, Laura, they don't have anything in place.
Regardless if there's blizzards every year, like, you have winter protocol you follow. It just seems like... And I lower my voice as low as I can get it. This doesn't feel... Did you ever see, like, the Truman Show? It's not that, but it just... Everything feels, like, off.
Not having a muster station. The mayor not knowing about a muster station?
Is that for... Like that's for a boat, right?
Boats, I mean, literally city halls.
Technically, the cop didn't know what
Not
the word
everyone.
muster
Whatever.
station was.
Not everyone knows what the word muster means. It might be too fancy for them. I don't know. You guys are really paranoid about this.
Carl, have you ever seen a horror movie?
Yeah, but this is just a small town dealing with a crisis.
You missed my question when the entire town seemed unhappy that we were here.
Yeah, we're strangers in their town. They probably haven't had visitors in ages. You're a stranger and you're being rude about their town. Not that you were
Was I
rude.
being was
don't
I
know.
being rude?
I think
I didn't-
sometimes it can be overwhelming if someone's asking you a bunch of questions. You know?
They asked if we had any questions.
Yeah,
good
they
point.
don't always. That doesn't always mean they want questions, right? I ask my patients if they have any questions, but I'm really hoping that they don't have any.
If there's anything I've learned in life, it's you should speak up. And also, it's not worth making them more comfortable while I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Ask the questions you need to ask. I'm just trying to give a perspective from maybe a different.
Would it be a good idea
Shoot.
for us to kind of reconvene back at Tilly's and have a little chat? Because
Sure.
I'm no mathematician, but a few things aren't adding up. if you know
Carl's
what
gonna
I'm
look
saying.
down at their watch that they have on their wrist. What time is it?
It's
Keeper.
about the time is 12:30 p.m.
Okay.
So the town hall meeting only went about an hour and a half. And as you look up, you see behind Nate, Dr. Samuel, walking very intently towards your group, sort of putting on a like bright red jacket, and sort of like raises a hand towards you.
Carl will raise her hand back.
Carl, actually, I wanted to talk to Nate here. If you have a moment before you head out.
I have a moment, sure.
Cool. You're a hockey guy, right?
Yes. Like, I'm kind of confused because I'm like, how does this guy know? Like, I haven't been in so long.
He kind of like clocks that and he says, "Oh, Benjamin kind of like talked about you guys a lot. You might actually find a lot of people here know more about you than they put on." That seemed weird. Anyways, the reason I asked is I was wondering if you maybe still play. I run sort of a casual hockey game for some of the people in town, and well, I figured with the news and all, people could maybe blow off some steam if you're interested.
Is this during the blizzard you want to play?
We have a rink. I know that we give off the vibe of a very small town with podunk doctor. We have a small rink. It's heated. I'm trying to alleviate some of the tension in the town. I imagine no one's gonna slip.
When were you thinking about doing this?
This afternoon maybe.
Oh.
3-ish.
I turned to the rest of the group, sort of like, to see if anyone gives me like a look that's like,
Carl,
or is just like
you. Carl doesn't.
I look past Carl.
Yeah, Carl doesn't really have like an expression in regards to that. He's like, go for it, dude.
I'm like, this is.
Marie's like, no.
Yeah,
no, bro.
my eyes, Laura's eyes are bugging out. I'm like, kind of like.
You know what? I'm gonna turn around and say, you know what? I may be able to, but I can't commit just now because we have to keep the group together and safe. So we got to make sure, that things are okay. But if leave a spot open for me, if I can, then I'll be there. If not, no harm, no foul.
All right. Well, I was gonna send someone down to talk to Carl. Anyways, we have a previous a doctor thing to talk about, but I'll have them checking on you and lead you to the rink if you're down.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
That's really kind of you.
You see him sort of like go to like zip up his jacket, and it gets caught in some fabric, and he just starts like focusing on that for a moment of like,
I want to size this dude up hardcore. Like, this is as soon as he starts saying Benjamin, because here's the thing.
That was pretty trippy. Carl doesn't understand the context, but the three of you, one hundo, yeah.
Yeah, enough things now I'm like, and Benjamin never said a single word to us in all this time, never tried to get in touch, never did anything for all this time, was telling all these people in this town about us for years, and they all know who we are?
All right,
like,
give me a psychology roll.
This is just real, like,
as he's focusing on trying to get his zipper up.
The zipper's a ploy. Yes!
Wow.
Hard success! 25 versus 50!
Y'all want me to just tell you the answer to the mystery? You can roll for. I'll have each of you roll for it. You'll probably succeed.
Can I roll to solve?
Yeah, roll to solve.
Roll to solve the whole mystery?
This is what you, with a hard success, get. This man is not a professional hockey player. Which sort of bleeds into his whole sort of persona, which is not that put together, kind of frazzled a bit. As he was talking to you, you can notice him like have a thought, which tripped him up a little bit, and then keep talking to you. And he doesn't seem malicious. He just seems trying to be nice while sort of fumbling a bit. The hard success is that there's a little bit of nerve talking to you specifically. A little bit of attraction there in his voice. And you catch the his voice catching not just from fumbling his words, but from talking to someone that he finds attractive. You see that like his cheeks start to blush a bit as he's like pulling up his zipper, and I'll get it later. Let me know. I'm sending a guy.
Yep. Okay, we gotta go. Nate's gonna like put his arms around the group and start to whoop towards the door at this point.
Carl will wave and I think kind of lean over to Laura while this conversation's happening and just say, "Hey, I didn't mean any offense by that. I just was trying to give the perspective of other people, maybe."
You're fine. I'm a little on edge because it just feels hostile a little bit. Not from you, like the energy in this town. I think you missed the most juicy bit when you went outside.
Maybe for you.
What did you talk about?
I think I got invited out to a party.
Can we say we're saying this through the blizzard right now?
Oh yeah, we're walking. Yeah.
I think
also
I
see, like,
invited to a
yelling,
party.
screaming.
Are you gonna go?
Yeah. I was
I
thinking
like
about
butt
it.
into the conversation.
Andy, I don't think it's a good idea for you to go to the party. I know I'm not. We've only just met, but I genuinely don't think we should talk about this some more before we make any decisions.
Sure, I don't know. I just feel like it would be nice. I mean, we're trapped here. Why not hang out?
Sorry, speak up. I can't hear you over the wind.
Maybe we should talk once we get back to Tilly's.
What?
Tilly's!
What about her?
We should talk when we get back to Tilly's.
Okay, that sounds good. We'll talk to Tilly when we get there.
Carl
just
just leans
shake
into
my
Laura
head.
and is like, shrugs.
I lean in and as like loudly as I can over the storm, but also quietly, if possible, just be sure blizzard parties what is the safest thing for you to be doing right now.
You act like there's anything else to do.
I've been invited to parties that I didn't want to go to, but I had a hard time saying no.
It wasn't like that.
Okay,
I get it, though.
I don't have kids of my own, but I say old people stuff sometimes.
Right. I am an adult. Carl like looks around at everybody. He's like 28. He's just like, why is everyone treating me like I'm 12? And he'll wait until they get into the building.
You basically get back in time to see Tilly unlocking the front door. She had left a bit earlier than you, and you see as you're walking sort of the like exodus of people from the town hall, starting as a large group not being able to hear you talk over the wind. And then as they move down the main road, people just sort of split off and go into their respective homes and a few businesses here and there. And as you get to the door, you
Thing-
see.
Oh, sorry. Can I ask a
What?
question?
Sure.
You said that Tilly left earlier than us. Do I notice like any footprint tracks in the snow other than like towards the door?
Oh boy, give me a hard spot hidden because the blizzard is actively blowing shit around. This might be our first failure.
Hold on. I have to click hard first. There we go. Fuck yeah.
Oh.
I super failed too.
Oh
Not even
my
close.
gosh.
Yeah.
Damn, 88
88
versus 15.
Ugh.
Yeah, as I said, the blizzard is kicking up again, and you weren't the first to leave, nor was Tilly. So there are a lot of footprints of other people. And as you approach the inn, by this point the snow has basically covered any evidence, and you get absolutely no information.
Yeah,
but
so I
sort
just
of-
head in.
She looks over at you and smiles as she sort of shakes and opens the door.
Thank you for providing us shelter from this cold and storm.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be the, what did you call it? Mustard place?
Oh, the muster station.
We
You
just
were the
called
rep.
we called it the meeting spot or the
Of course.
safe haven, stuff like that. But
I can see that here.
Yeah, that was when Daniel was around. But I gotta go clean up.
Where is
feel-
Daniel? You speak so much of him.
She like looks at you and then smiles. No longer with us.
I'm sorry for your loss.
It was a while ago and we lived a great life.
I give a knowing smile.
My condolences.
And she lifts up the plate cover. There's still 4 pieces of bacon and some eggs if you're still hungry, Nate.
My thanks.
She laughs. All right, well, I got to clean up. Feel free to make yourselves at home. Technically, we're open to the public, so, you know, this place might actually look like a real business soon. Feel free to ignore all of them. They will have questions, most likely. Can I get anyone anything to drink? It is past noon, so it's technically legal now.
I would be distracted and I'd probably pull my phone out of my pocket and see, because I had a realization on the walk back about my late night text.
Your phone is dead. You forgot to plug it in last night.
This is the first time this has happened to Laura in years. So I think distractedly, she's not paying attention to the conversation, and then starts feeling around her pockets and goes, shit, my charger's upstairs or up in my room. So I look up at the group very like dazed. I'll be right back. And I just head up to my room.
Carl's just observing everything because that's what they do.
Carl, would
What's
you
the-
like some hot cocoa?
I'm good.
You didn't have any
2 hot
breakfast.
cocos.
Do you want a little bit of bacon? You didn't have any breakfast.
No, I'm good. Thank you though.
You hear Tilly behind the bar now, having like wiping the counter. I mean, you don't want to end up like Liam. He said he was good for a while, and I'll stay out of it.
That poor
Starts-
boy.
Yeah, he's had a rough few months.
I can understand that.
It's tough
And
to lose somebody
sorry.
like that.
Yes.
Grief does weird things. And everyone handles it in their own way.
spirit of listening to others, perhaps just one hot cocoa, Tilly.
Right up. And starts heating up some hot water again. Nate, what are you up to?
Nate wants to. I think Nate got lost in thought there when we started talking about grief and losing people again. But when everybody is sort of assembled, he really wants to try and like go over just some of the weirdness, because he finds the omen that he received from the gas station clerk, coupled with those strange, that has him kind of like something just feels off. Something feels weird, and this behavior is strange, and it feels like there's maybe some kind of thing going on, but he's not sure. And then I think also the fact that it was like he had that dream when Liam called, and all of this seems to be tied around Liam and Benjamin's telling people about us and all this stuff. Like, it's very strange. So he's waiting, I think, for Laura to get back and for everybody kind of to settle, and hoping that we can sit in a spot, like he's gonna go for a spot that's not near Tilly, so that it would be harder for Tilly to listen in.
That's fair. And as you sit there for a while, you see two men come through the front door and take the spot in the corner. And as they sort of like take off their coats and hang them up on the back of the seats, you recognize the two from last night. Laura, you ascend the stairs up to the rooms and remember that your charger was with your stuff in your original room.
I mean, I'm gonna go in, even though I really don't want to. So I kind of, no one's with me this time. So I take like a breath, and then I really want to charge my phone.
As you enter, again, sort of startled by your reflection in the wardrobe, you see your bag leaning up against it on the floor.
It then triggers this like waterfall of thoughts of, oh God, am I sleeping in here tonight? What am I gonna ask Marie if I can stay there again? Like, and it's just like future worries start creeping in. And then I just quickly go, right now, I can't go into this. I'm gonna glance up at that mold spot we found and kind of just keep my eyes on it as I walk to my bag and get my charger out.
As you do, you hear that like creaking and moaning of the wind sort of filling up and releasing from the attic, as if the building is taking a long, deep breath. And the storm window sort of rattles a bit against the wind. And as you make your way across the room, digging through your bag, looking for your charger, you hear a...
Is it the door behind me that I just came through?
No. Looking down from the mold spot, you see that the door on the other end of the room has sort of opened a bit. And you see it sort of like move with the breath of the building and then like not slam, but almost click back into space. And then as the building breathes again, it opens again. And then closes.
Laura's heart is like racing. When there's like a sound you're not expecting, but also kind of being distracted by looking for my phone cables. And in the dream, quote unquote, that Laura had, the mold was prominent around this door.
Yeah, it seemed to be coming through the walls and the door, originating on that side.
And I think there's a thought process of, you're being ridiculous. It's just, there's a huge blizzard. This is an old building. It's clearly ebbing and flowing with the sounds of this massive storm outside. So almost like in a when you check under the bed or you check a closet to be like, oh, there's no monsters in here, Laura just kind of like gets the gumption up and is like, probably has phone charger and phone in one hand, and then just like marches over to this door and grabs the handle and just opens it and looks inside.
Immediately upon opening the door, you are sort of like breathed on by this cold air from inside that sort of mimics the sound of the building. But the room itself in front of you only picks up a bit of the light from your room, and it almost looks like you're looking into a mirror version of the room that you're standing in.
Brain immediately goes, is this like one of those like Jack and Jill rooms where there's like a door in between that separates them? And so just haphazardly, not turning my back to this door, is there a plug that I can plug my phone in to see if I can get my flashlight to work?
In your room?
Yes.
There is, the alarm, the clock radio, is connected into a plug.
Well, I can't see into this room. I mean, the blinds or like the little curtains on that window, are they open or not?
They're shut right now.
I think the first thing I'll do is maybe I'll walk over and like kind of just unplug the alarm clock, plug in my phone, just set it down, and then go to the window and just like open up to let as much natural light in as possible.
Again, in your room?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I haven't crossed the threshold of this demon
Just
door.
As you do, you see the battery symbol appear on your phone as it starts charging, and you open, and you can see that the window is sort of like rattling a bit, but more light sort of fills the room.
Does it seem like it's going to cascade a little bit more light into this door?
You can definitely look over and see.
I will do that.
And as you turn to look into the room, you now see a bit more light illuminating. You can see a very similar wood floor. You see the wall that's almost at a 45-degree angle, and a similar storm door or storm window positioned in the middle of it, with dark curtains closing it off.
I'm just going to call out into the room. Hello? Is anyone in here? I think this door accidentally got unlocked.
As you say that, you get a shiver again as the exhale of cold air breathes over you, but no verbal response.
Just like pepping up myself. Pepping? What is it? Hyping myself up. I don't know what pepping is. Laura's nervous. Let's go team. Kind of like a pep band kind of thing. Just under my breath going, it's a fucking room in a small town. It's not like one of Marie's books. And then I go over and see if I have enough charge on the phone to turn on the flashlight.
Yeah, you've got it. Like it says 1%.
Good enough. I'm gonna take it off and turn on the flashlight and just kind of walk over to the room and like shine it around in there.
As you do, you see a similar wardrobe on the far end, again mirroring the layout of your room. You can sort of bend in and you see desk, no alarm clock, a chair, and a lamp set up. And you know that there is a wall to your left right now, and on the other side of it, if the room still matches your layout, would be the bed.
Can I take some pictures of this room with my phone?
You can certainly try. as you open up the phone app, roll me a luck check.
Oh.
Because you have been charging your phone for maybe a minute.
Yeah. Laura's going, remembering Nate saying, we should talk about some things, and going, I should probably not step into this room, but if I get pictures, I can show everybody before I go inside. Oh, I got a 26 versus 55 hard success.
Oh my goodness.
You open the phone app or the camera app and almost think that your phone is dying, but it's a pop-up that says, do you want to go into extreme power save mode?
Like, so adeptly, yes, and then just like bam, 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 as many pictures as I can get.
How do you just basically like reach your hand in and start taking pictures, or does your body pass the threshold into this room?
Only arm, and it's arm, and it is me like just hitting the thing and trying to get as many angles of this room as I possibly can. Because I mean, Laura's seen enough horror movies, like she's a fan, that this is some sketchy stuff to have in the room you're staying in.
All right. You take a few pictures, successfully get several of them before your phone dies and the light goes out. All the while, your hair is sort of like brushing up against the back of your neck from that wind that keeps sort of inhaling and exhaling on you.
Just because of the nightmare that Laura's had, and now there's another room on the room that she's staying, I'm gonna close the door. I'm gonna grab my luggage and stack it in front of this door. And then, like, you know when you just get goosebumps and you just feel that like tension not dissipating? I'm going to grab my phone charger and leave this room as fast as possible and try to charge my phone downstairs and get back to the group, because there's something wrong about this.
All right. And as you sort of rush away, that immediate feeling of warmth hits you again as you leave the room and step back into the inn, and rush back to the group. There are plugs along the walls of the inn, sort of interspersed here and there. So if you wish to plug in your phone again, you can definitely do so down there.
That's what I'm gonna do. And is the group now sitting together in like a booth, everybody?
And I think when you join them, you all can see Laura's expression and sort of the pale face of her, just like seeing as freaked out as she was last night.
I was just in my room and I grabbed my charger, and like there's another door in my room and it was open. It was like opening and closing, and so I looked inside, and it was like and I look around to make sure nobody can hear. Are people like, is Tilly around? Are people around?
There's probably about 6 people in the inn now, sort of like getting drinks or like ordering food and stuff. And it, as she said, it sort of feels more like a business now, as you are all just huddled away in this side table.
I kind of hunker down a little bit more at the table, like I lean in, and I'm just like watching my phone, waiting for the battery thing to finally click on. I took a bunch of pictures, and I didn't go in, but it was like a room like my room, and it was cold, and it what if there's somebody in there?
Do you want me to go check?
Well, like I took pictures. I didn't look at them yet because my phone is dead. And so I'm going to see as soon as I can unlock my phone and open my photos to show everybody.
Did somebody say something? You seem really freaked out?
Yeah. Does your room have an extra room on it?
I don't know. Sometimes hotels have that, where they have like twin rooms that share doors.
Adjoining rooms.
Laura,
My
while
mom and
you're
I've shared
waiting
a few
for,
of those on her book tours.
In my what, Nate?
well, I'll look. I know that there are some that have, yeah, there are hotels that have like a connecting door, but look, if it'll help, while you're waiting for your phone to wake back up, I will go and look at this other room.
Well, let's just look at the pictures first. What if I don't know? In my dream, it was like where the mold was coming from.
Okay.
Let's stay together. Let's stay together, Nate.
Like I would have
All right.
probably like if this was, I don't know, Wisconsin, and it was just a place I was staying, I'd probably just walk into the room, but I don't know why it didn't feel right.
There's a lot about this place that doesn't feel right.
I mean, I know that you guys haven't talked to your friend in a long time. My mom told me about it, and that something happened, but you haven't seen them since. But like, you all seem really on edge.
I glance at Marie. Like I give Marie a look.
I just like shake my head once.
It's a long story. It's a long story, Andy.
Carl,
Sorry, Carl. The truth is, we hadn't spoken to Benjamin it had just been years, it's been decades. And
yeah, I got that. But
it just seems odd that he would have told the whole town about us for years on end. They all knew who we are.
well, were you friends? It seemed like you all were friends. From what my mom said.
Listen,
We
We
Have the
were.
pictures popped up?
You hear a slam on the table as a plate of fries are brought over by Tilly, who sort of like smiles and looks at Carl and gives this expression of like a worried mom before just sort of walking back to the bar as Laura, your phone turns on.
So I'll try to like get to the app, and as I'm doing that, I'll look at everybody. This place is weird because there was a band I had. They didn't do much. They had a really good sound. They were underrated. The guy doing the sound today at the town hall was wearing one of their shirts.
Wouldn't that be cool? That's like neat that someone's
What are
wearing
the
a
chances that the guy doing the sound in this town is wearing an Owl Riot shirt? Like, I'm all for coincidences and things being like, wow, that's a cool, but there's too much that doesn't make sense.
Well, did you talk to him about how he got it?
No, but if I get the chance to, I will.
I might
If-
get the chance to. Apparently, he's going to be at this party that I got invited to. I think you're thinking of Walt.
If that's the guy with the tape, the gaffer tape, he was doing the wires.
Yeah. That's who Tilly told us about. Well, told my mom that he's.
He does
like,
the
their
internet or
techie.
the phones too, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The first picture on your phone is the entranceway to the hotel room, just the wall with the window on it.
It's a
I'm just
wall
gonna
with
like
the
do that
window.
lean out, like
Does
lean
anything
over
look
thing.
weird with the wall and the window?
No,
Nothing.
But
just looks dark.
If we zoom
But-
in,
yeah, I'll zoom in on the curtain because you said the curtain was darker.
Yeah, it's thicker, almost like made of wool, or yeah, that like thick gray
Like
material.
linen.
Yeah,
It's like this. Look, it's like the same room, but like the curtain's different.
is that a bad thing? Can
I mean,
curtains not
our
be-
curtain's different than your curtain. Swipe.
I go to the next picture.
The next one is a picture of the desk. With the flash, it looks noticeably dusty. And you can tell that this room has been unused for a while. Like the chair sort of has a layer of dust, and the counter, and everything just seems like untouched. But nothing strange yet, other than that.
It looks dusty, like someone hasn't been in there in a while. I guess that is a little strange, but
For a hotel.
To have a room that's just not used.
maybe something happened in there.
GM, storyteller, do we see the outside door to this room while we walk down the hallway?
Yep. It's next
Okay.
to Laura's room.
Okay.
I'll swipe to the next one.
You get a bit of the door as you reached in, and you can see that wood planks have been hammered across it.
What the? Do you see that? And I'm gonna zoom, like pinch and zoom.
What does it look
I'm
like it's
trying to-
being hammered across?
Keep someone
just-
out?
Just holding the door closed.
Why on earth would you?
Or keep something in?
Yeah, and it's conveniently open to my room. That's fun for me. I swipe to the next one because now I'm just like antsy to see because I know I reached my arm in further.
Who all is looking at this picture?
All of us?
All of us.
Everybody.
Yeah.
We're all
I'm
huddled around it.
looming. Yeah, I'm looming behind the group, like looking over the top.
Everybody roll me sanity.
Ooh.
1d4.
Wait, how do we do that?
Just click sanity. I'm telling you
Okay.
that 1 is the amount of sanity loss you take if you succeed. 1d4 is how much
Critical
you take if you
success,
fail.
1
I
out of
failed.
60. That's crazy.
Oh.
I succeeded.
I failed.
I-
49 versus 35 for me.
Everybody that failed takes 3 points of sanity damage.
Oh no. I
Everyone
failed as well.
that succeeds takes 1. As the final picture,
Oh, we still take
Oops,
one?
sorry,
even
I
though we
clicked it back.
succeed?
yeah, as the final picture swipes, it's a leaned over, blurry picture of the bed, and it's all laid out the same, but in reverse to Laura's room. You see the bed sort of sitting on the elevated platform in the little nook between the door and the wall, and something growing on the wall. A plant that has expanded along the wall and up to the ceiling, breaking some of the wood, pushing up towards the attic. And as you look at it, you see what appear to be pustules sort of growing on it like blisters. And it's hard to make out the color along the plant of what they are. But on the bed, again, very blurry, is that same plant structure laying flat on the bed in the shape of a body. And as you all look, those of you who failed see the plant moving. You see the pustules expanding and shrinking, and a few of them popping. And that's where we're going to leave it for tonight.
What the heck? Okay.
This is bad.
Okay, Carl might be understanding where you guys are coming from now. Actually, no, I didn't see the puffing stuff. I just see like the weird, creepy
There's a body on this
body.
ass.
Yeah, that part.
Carl's like, yeah, that happens a lot at hotels.
Well, not that part. Well, we'll play some. Jeremy, are you talking?
Oh, am I
You
inaudible?
got cut out, but
Yeah,
now
you
we
get
hear
cut
you.
out.
I thought it was a bit.
Look, sometimes, that's where bodies used to lie when people slept. That's where all the moisture is. That's where the fungus would grow into. It's natural. perfectly
I have
reasonable
theories.
explanation.
I'm going to share them in the after show, but I have a theory of the body. Okay, all right. Well, before we go record our after show, we would like to thank you all for joining us. We hope that you have enjoyed this, whether you're watching us on YouTube or watching us here on Twitch live. We want to give a huge thank you to our sponsor, Roll20. If you're curious how we've been doing our rolls and all of that jazz, that is all through Roll20. They are awesome. They allow us to do many things with character sheets and stuff, which is handy. We also have merch. If you want to check that out, you can head on over to designbyhumans.com/shop/roll4it and grab yourself a mug or a sweater or whatever it may be so that you are not cold and you don't have to borrow clothes like Nate does. And then also we would like to thank our supporter today. A huge thank you to Thunder Cabbage. I always have to do that with Thunder Cabbage. I had to find it
Such a
first, so I was
good sound
buying
effect.
myself time. Thunder Cabbage, thank you for supporting us. And if you would like to become a supporter like Thunder Cabbage, you can head on over to our Patreon and become a legend tier above. And not only do you become a supporter for an episode, you get to be someone who gets to play in one of our privately GM'd games, which Kelly is currently doing. And I will be doing one that will be coming up and coming, and it will affect our live one-shot for Halloween. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be spoopy, and you get to have an effect on what will happen. We have a whole bunch of other goodies over on Patreon, though, like our character sheets and after shows, like the one we're going to go record after this. You can also head on over to Twitch if you're not watching us live right now and subscribe to us. You get access to the VODs in advance as well as emotes. And if you use Amazon Prime and you haven't used that on someone else's channel, you get a free sub to someone else's channel, which is super helpful for us, but also means that Jeff Bezos doesn't get the money. So you decide how you want that money to get dispersed. And also you can become a YouTube member, which gets you access to some of those emotes as well. And whether you're a YouTube member, Twitch subscriber, or Patreon supporter, you get access to a private Discord where I'm sure people are going to have some thoughts about things we saw and all the awful flirting that was happening today. This town is thirsty AF.
Have you been to a small town before? Someone interesting
They're
shows
like,
up and
new
you jump on them like Hydra.
people. I gotta put my cologne
Vultures.
on. No, I'm
It's like
kidding.
Midsommar up in here.
And then, of course, there's lots of non-monetary ways to support us because we know not everyone can support us monetarily. Take care of you and yours first and foremost. But you can watch us live on Twitch, make clips while we're live. Watch us on YouTube, subscribe, like, comment, follow us on all the places, X, Facebook, like, share, retweet, all the things. And we do read everything. We try to respond to people. So thank you so much. And thank you for all the lovely YouTube comments. We've been super duper appreciating it. It makes the algorithms push out the things and let people find us and the stories that we have to tell. And with that, I'm going to let these wonderful people say where you can find them at when they are not doing things here, because they are amazing and do lots of cool stuff on the internet. So first and foremost, we're going to do it in a little different order. We're going to start with Shar. Where can people find you at when you are not interrupting town halls to try to get your questions in right at the end?
Hey everybody, I'm Charlene Bear on all social media. You can find me on Twitch on Tuesdays and Thursdays at Tabletop Titties with double D's, where I am the GM of our D&D show, and I also play a Tremere in our Vampire the Masquerade show. And otherwise, I'm, over on Roll4It. I do a podcast that I'll let Kelly talk a little bit about as well. And yeah, just follow me on social media. You'll find me there.
All right, and that's a great segue to Kelly. We'll toss it over to you. Where can people find you at when you're not creeping us out with doors that open on their own?
I don't know if people can find me anywhere not creeping people out. You can find me on the socials as the Mind Right or Kelly Right, depending on which one it is. I, at this point, no longer remember. I'm on the Blue Skies, the co-hosts, the TikToks, the Instas, and all the other ones, trying to find where people are going now. You can also find me consistently on Tabletop Titties as the storyteller for the Vampire the Masquerade London Adventure Fun Times that Margaret had not a fun time on the last one.
I had a fun time. I ate a fish. It's all good.
You did. That was a good good thing. And as Shar said, we have a podcast called Drinking and Screaming, where Shar and I review horror movies and pair them with cocktails and look at them through a queer and feminist lens. It's a great time, and there's a big backlog, which is great because we haven't done it in a while. But go check that out.
Fabulous. And next we have Jeremy Cobb. Where can people find you at when you are not trying to protect everybody? I feel like you're just dad mode, friend mode, just like, want me to take care of it? Want me to go check out that room? Want me to...
You can find me on Twitter at Jeremy Cobb1. That's Cobb with 2 B's, the number 1. Same handle on The Skies That Are Blue. I'm also on Instagram at The Cobbmeister. You can find me on 3 Black Halflings, TTRPG/General Nerd, podcast with actual play and interviews and commentary and all sorts of things. You can find me streaming on Twitch Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays at twitch.tv/CasualQuestLive. So go give a follow. We play Baldur's Gate 3, we play Fallout New Vegas, and we play Deus Ex Human Revolution. And finally, if you want to play some D&D with me, you can do that at On the Sea, D3 at Sea, this fall. Yay! Go to d3atc.com and sign up to play with me. Huzzah! That's it. That's all.
And Buddy, where can people find you at when you are not guest starring on our show because you're hangry?
I think Shar actually does have an Instagram for Buddy.
It's true. Oh God, I don't know the handle off by heart. So
Okay,
we'll have
look it
to
up.
plug
We'll have
that
it for
next
next
time.
And next up, we have last but not least, Laura Flowers, played by Play Katie Play. Where can people find you at when you are not losing your phone battery?
That I also feel like I want to call her Lucky Laura because, well, I don't know, maybe my luck's about to run out. But
you are so lucky. Oh my goodness.
Oh, I am glad that we got some pictures to discuss next episode. But
Carl will actually believe y'all now.
Finally, we got proof, photographic proof of something strange happening. I'm Katie Peters Plays. You can find me on Twitch at Katie Peters Plays. All my links are there for all the social medias. So if you want to find me on any of them, go to katiepetersplays.tv. All of it'll be there. I've been playing Baldur's Gate as well and trying to get Starfield to run on my computer. Working on that. It doesn't like streaming and playing at the same time, so we're going to find a happy medium. But I have 2 podcasts. Katie hasn't seen that, and Quantum Drive. If you want to hear me talk in your ear about movies and the TV show The Orville. I also am on another tabletop show called the Duacroma Outlook, which is an alien tabletop RPG. And I play a very different kind of character. You'll also see Bentham on it. And that's over on the Wandering Inn on Fridays. New episode coming out this Friday.
Who have been on Roll4It or on that cast, so definitely go check it out. And I am Margaret Crone. You can find me at all the places at Margaret Crone. I do lots of things on the internet. If you want to find them, just follow me, and I'll let you know when I'm doing them. And I also make games and video games for a living. I currently work on a project called Ashes of Creation, and you can find it at Ashes of Creation in all of the places. And with that, we are going to wrap up today's episode. We hope you enjoyed it, and we're going to go record an after show. Doodles.
Bye.
Oh my God, I got to find my mouse. It disappeared on the other monitor.
Keep waving.
Keep waving. It's
Don't
fine.
stop.
It's fine. We're fine.